Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram, and this is fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 520. I've got a super special Friday episode tonight. I've been looking forward to this one. We've got Mr. Trees, Family Tree Seeds. How you doing?
What's happening, Eagle?
Tell us where.
Nice,
Not much, man. You want to tell everybody how you're doing this evening? And let me shut this guy up in the background. There we go. Tell us how you're doing and where we can find you, of course.
Tyler. I'm Tyler, Mr. Trees. If you know me, you know me. If not, you look hard enough, we'll come face to face. I'm doing well tonight. I'm smoking on some Pam and some ice cream cake crosses that I'm looking at right now, which is nice. And yeah, man, I'm kids are asleep. I got some weed and, I got some shit to do. So, let's have a good time,
It was a pleasure to get to meet you this year firsthand. It's always a pleasure when you can get that handshake and
get to see
pretty
somebody
awesome
face to
that
face.
you made it out here to Michigan. Do you get out this way often?
No, that was my first time, man. That was my first time ever in Michigan, which was cool. So I drove from I flew into Detroit and then drove all the way out to Muskegon and stopped everywhere in between and hung out in Grand Rapids for a little while. And then, headed back over to Nick's place out there. And I mean, I was all over, man. I felt like I saw the whole bottom half of Michigan anyway. I didn't get up to the north, but I saw the whole bulk of the bottom half. So, but it was nice, man. I saw one of the biggest storms I ever seen in my life. And everybody in Michigan is like, they're all teammates out there on the freeway. So when it gets raining really, really hard, we don't have that here in SoCal, when it starts really ripping, lightning striking on the side of the road, fucking thunderstorms are fucking howling, we're rolling through the thing. And as soon as it gets too hairy to see, everybody's hazards goes on. And everybody gets tight so you can all see, what I mean, in Michigan. And I was riding with a whole crew of cats for hours, through storm after storm after storm, hitting the hazards and dropping down to 10 miles an hour, you know what I mean? Trying to get through those it was way cool. So not something that I'm used to from the desert, you know what I mean?
Next time you have to hit the upper half, come see me up in the northern section of Michigan there.
Hell yeah. Beautiful. That where you are? Here. You're in the top. You're in the top, that northern part. Yeah, right on. Right on.
Lot slower up here, Chief. Lot slower up here.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot.
A lot of hills and pretty trees up here.
Yeah, that's next. I'm definitely coming back. I got some family in Ohio and New York and other places like that. So this year, I'm planning to make it my mission to do more travel, and I'm going to do the regen conferences all throughout, the U.S. I'm going to do as many little spots as I can. I'm going to try to just pop in and, see as many of the community members as I can. You know what I mean?
Pretty awesome. So you've been around a little bit. How did that little Michigan event weigh up to some of the other events you've been to? I mean, that was a pretty small event, but it's a lot of great people. You know what I mean? People kind of bunch right up and have fun.
Yeah. I was really impressed with the community there. How everybody was really, really, really friendly. They might look at you a little funny here and there in the gas stations when I was rolling through, but everybody was super, super friendly, man. The community, everybody makes it out. You know what I mean? It definitely felt more like like seeing your family than it did hanging out with a bunch of people. You know what I mean? It was really cool. I enjoyed going through. I enjoyed hanging at Nick's. I enjoyed stopping over at my other buddy's house. It was like every place I went, I felt like I've been there for 10 years. There's only been one other place that I felt like that. And that's up in like upstate New York area. And like one of those small little, Rochester type towns. There's, this place called Chila I really liked, and everybody was super friendly there. It was a really, really nice place. So Michigan was cool, man. It was a good spot. There were smoke shops. There was ganja on the table, People were always happy. There was music playing at that one festival. The Gene Traders event was killer, man. I was, you know, it was a small little spot, but there was a lot of people that showed up and showed support. So, you know, I got no complaints. I'll definitely come back to Michigan, you know.
Michigan definitely loves its cannabis, that's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. I don't know if it was like that Green Rush cannabis place or whatever, but they were at Gene Traders, man. They had a line out the door, man. So everybody was standing that line. The traders all came over and kind of had to see me for a few seconds anyway. So it was nice. I got to meet a lot of people. It was a good time, man. It was really good. I'm glad I made it out. It wasn't a waste of time. Didn't hurt me at all. It was all good, man. It really felt good. So I'm gonna try to do it more. That's for sure.
So gotta start it off right from the beginning like we usually do. When was that when was the first time cannabis rolled through your life?
Oh man. So when I was like 12 or 13 years old, and I moved from Arizona to California, the San Diego area. And about, you know, right around 7th grade there. I don't remember the exact very first time that I smoked, but it was like the second or third time that I had smoked. It was like one of my neighborhood kids. And when I moved from Arizona, it was like a farm boy in the middle of nowhere with like nothing going on, you know, except for like, you know, sports guy, and, you know, that's basically all that there is out there. So when I got to California, there was all kinds of shit happening, man. There was a million things to do. Everybody was zinging and zanning. There was the beach, there was snowboarding. People had money here. It was a whole nother world. So I don't remember how it really went down, but one of my neighbors was a skater kid. I was into skateboarding, and he snagged some ganja at some point from somebody, maybe one of his family members. And we ended up going to the park nearby our house and meeting up with this crazy ass gangster fool. When I think back to it, man, like I'm like, the situations that used to put yourself in when you're like a little kid it was crazy. But this gangster fool, we went and hung out with him, and we ended up smoking like just bong load after bong load out of a plastic like piece of junk, dirty water bong thing, you know what I mean? And I had never really smoked much, and man, I was flying like I'd never been flying before. It was that old Mexican brickweed, and I had to go home, and I was just a kid, so I skated home, and I showed up, and my dad was home, and he wasn't supposed to be home. And when I walked in the door, like he knew right away that I was just wasted, but he didn't say it. He didn't say a word. Like I tried to walk past him and like just go to the room and sit down and, you know, like just hide from him the whole time, you know? And he called me into the living room. He's like, "Hey, come into the living room." And he broke out like a Guitar Center magazine or something. And he started asking me questions about all the strats that were in the magazine, and like showing me these tremendous, totally trying to fuck with me when I was just wasted, you know? And I got really sick and ended up just like laying in the bathtub, and like that next day I was like, man, that was crazy. Let's do it again. I don't know why I wanted to do it. I don't know why to do it again, but I was all over it again. We went and bought this bag of weed from who knows where, and I gave the guy $20, and he brought me back a gram. And we had never seen green bud before. I had never seen green bud before. We were used to the Mexican brickweed, and we were getting big old bags for $20, you know? So when he brought me back this little gram, I was like, "Oh, F this, you're ripping me off. This is garbage." And I ended up trading that gram to that gangster dude that I was hanging out with the first time with the plastic bong for a 20 bag of mech for my gram of dank weed that I had, because I didn't know the difference, you know what I mean? I was like 13 or 14 or something like that. And I'll never forget that. He's like, "You want to trade? Oh, I'll trade you. No problem." And he was like so excited to trade me. I just didn't understand it, you know, at the time, you know. And they called it gal, the green bud. And I've never heard anybody call it gal like then or since or ever. And it was like this one time in my life, and for some reason he called it gal, and I'll never forget that. So I always ask, like, Anybody ever call ganja gal? When you were growing up, it was fucking. I've never heard that shit, and I've been doing this for 30 years almost. So it's like never heard it again. But gal, green bud being called gal, I was like, wow, that's weird. So anybody knows about that, let me know. But yeah, man, that's what started. And then I started growing those seeds in those bags, and that's kind of where everything kind of started, for the seed stuff, and the ganja on the regular, and not having money and finding rides and hustling. The hustle was born. You know what I mean? So it was a good thing. It was a good thing back then. But
at least you were smart enough to learn to drop those seeds in the ground way back then to cheapen up the hustle. For most of us, we didn't figure it out till a little bit later. We just kind of like knew there was a hustle there, and if we did the math correctly, there was money to be made or free cannabis. But to actually put the seeds in the ground and make it 100%, not 100% profit, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
never even occurred.
Dude, it was a crazy thing with being in Arizona. We grew stuff. I always had a garden. And we always planted seeds. And my grandpa was an old cotton alfalfa farmer out there forever. So, he was always growing shit and planting stuff and doing stuff. And, for whatever reason, I was like, man, there's seeds right here. I don't have any money. Let's grow these seeds. And my household was, cool enough to where I could kind of get away with that. You know what I mean? And not have to worry about it. And I remember I had this little like 5x5 little like structure in my backyard, of my mom's house at some point, and I filled that thing up with all of these seedlings. Like there was tons of seedlings in there, and they had a new puppy, and the new puppy got into there and destroyed all of my seedlings. And I had been using all those seedlings and those plants for like weeks before that to get rides and trading stuff for this and that, and and then the couple of survivors out of that batch was a male and a couple of females, and that made my first like real batch of seeds. And I was like, oh, there we go, we can make more seeds. This is normal. Okay. So, and then I had to learn about the males and how that one's why that I had seeds in the first place. And I'm just like a 15-year-old kid trying to figure the stuff out. There's no place you can kind of read it, or you couldn't really get anywhere to do it. It was just kind of like I was just watching plants, man, just trying to just grow them and keep them together and try to stay out of trouble. And it was really cool. It taught me a lot of stuff, man. It was really cool.
Sounds like a good experience. Very young there. So what was your first experience basically learning about males, other than this is what you needed to make seed? Were you starting to take notes exactly, this is kind of the trait, this one, you know what I'm saying? This plus this could equal this.
Yeah, like the first time that the plants that survived that first little incident, like I said, I had a male and a couple of females in there, and I kept watching the male, and I'm like, this one looks really different than these other ones. And the other ones were putting on frost, and they started having hairs, and they looked like the stuff that I was kind of smoking, in a weird way. It was really green and really different. I was blown away. I didn't know that it was brown. Like I didn't know that it was old, and turned brown. And when it was growing on the plant, it was so much greener and nicer looking. And I'm like, man, these seeds this was brown weed seeds, and now it's turned, it was this whole thing. But like, when I watched that first one go, in the end, he had just dumped pollen. He probably just pollinated every plant, within, a 5-mile radius of that place, but he was just dumping and going, and I completely flowered him out. And in the end, I remember like cutting him down and going, I can't, this isn't what I'm after. All those flowers were falling apart. And I was like, okay, so this must be like male or a female, or I didn't know which one was male or female at the time either. I figured the one that had the flowers, like the actual flowers, the male, was the female, but I didn't really know. So I knew that they were different sexes. And then that next time around, I found another couple males in there, and I ended up killing those males. And when I grew that weed, those weed didn't have any seeds in it. Or, you know, there was maybe 1 seed or 2 seeds in the bottom somewhere, maybe, you know, something like that, but it didn't have any seeds in it like the other ones did. So I was like, wow, okay. So that was the start of, if I, after I kind of ran out of those like connections, I couldn't get any more seeds out of those bricks anymore, really. So I just started making more seeds. You know what I mean? I was stuck. I moved kind of far away from all of my friends in my school, and I was kind of just kind of a weird, I was an isolated situation, you know, just kind of stuck there. So I just started making more seeds and then growing as many of those plants as I could so that I could trade them to the older kids so that I could get rides back and forth to where we hung out. And I'd get me and my friends, I'm like, hey, me and my friends want to go down here. Like, I'll give you a plant if you can take us home up to my house, you know, in the end, like, you know, I'll give you 2 plants if you take us around, and, you know, stuff like that. And I didn't know if they were male plants or female plants, and neither did they. Nobody knew what the fuck they were doing. You know what I mean? Even the older kids, they didn't have a fucking clue. So it was like, yeah, I'll take a plant. So all of a sudden I was a little cooler because I had some plants, and, you know, I would be able to use that to my advantage. You know, it was pretty cool. You know, it was a good time, but it just took a couple times.
I like that, man. Making hands over fists and giving away plants that early on, I'm sure. You gotta meet this kid. He's well, Thugger probably give you a plant.
That's right. That's right. I mean, they didn't, you know, if you had a car, man, I mean, yeah, you were down if you could try. And then I remember we'd have so many, and, you know, we'd try to just hike them down on cliffs on the side of the, you know, the canyon sides, and we try to plant them places next to the freeway. And, you know, every single time we took them out there, like, you know, 9 out of 10 times they'd get taken or killed or, you know, whatever. We never got to pull a lot of those. There's only this one spot that we could ever pull it off, you know, and we worked on that spot for like, you know, 3 years, and that was our spot. And it took a long time to find that, but it was a good time, man. It was, being young, we'd fish. We used to fish and stuff, and we'd hike to these little canyons, and we'd check on the plants, and then we'd fish, and we'd hang out, try not to get bit by fucking rattlesnakes. You know what I mean? It was way cool. You know, hike water out there and stuff. It was cool being a kid then, man.
Sounds like an awesome childhood. Sure, man. I lived out in the country. I had, you know, I was able to do a lot of fishing, dirt biking and shit like that. Man, kids, I think about my childhood, and it sounds like your childhood, and I think to myself, man, these kids today are getting screwed. We had life, man. We just had to check in. Other than checking in,
Yeah.
What the hell we do what the hell you want. As long as you came home with all your toes and fingers and you had checked in, you were cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my mom used to whistle, man. She had this big old whistle, man. I could be far away as hell, you know what I mean? I'd hear that whistle, or if I had, you know, that was the time to come. But yeah, checking in, man, that was the one thing. You got to check in. You know, before the cell phone, you know, before any of that stuff. You got to check in, you know. Really, really cool, man. I saw a payphone in Michigan, in Detroit. I took a picture of it. That was like the first payphone I had seen on the side of the road, like, you know, 10 years, something like that. So, you know, you guys still got a payphone out there. I know that for sure.
I can't even believe that. But seeing how it was sighted in Detroit.
Possible. Yeah. You used to work the payphones, man. I mean, do you have all the payphone numbers memorized, you know, for all the stores and stuff? Did you ever do that when you were a kid doing the hustle?
No.
No. Man, we used to get calls on payphones, man. We would have all the payphone numbers memorized, you know what I mean? And we'd have the numbers, and we'd give them out, and like we'd sit there, we'd make calls, we'd hang it up, and we wouldn't have money. We'd have somebody call us back on the payphone. We can answer the phone and talk to them, you know what I mean, without putting any stuff in for a certain, you know, period of time. So, man, we worked at payphones like you wouldn't believe. Like, they were my best friends. When I saw that there, I was like, oh shit, I'm taking a picture of the payphone, because it's got huge sentimental value, man. That was our way back then. My kids will never know it. You know, they don't even know what a payphone is. You know what I mean? They will never know. So maybe there'll be one in the metaverse. Who knows?
There's so many things that made us who we are, rather. that they'll never see. You know what I mean? It's just
Yep.
helmets. We were talking about that the other day. Bikes without fucking pads and helmets. No
It's
seat
crazy.
belts. You
Yeah.
could ride in the back of a pickup truck when we were young. You could
Yeah.
actually just bolt a seat down and you could, as many people as you could pack in the back of a pickup truck. Be legal.
No doubt. Yep. No doubt. No doubt about it. There's still places in Arizona they still pile in the back like that, you know. That's just the way we lived, man. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
So taking on growing that early, usually for me, in my experience from talking to people, they use cannabis for one reason or another. Prior to cultivating, they may be a medicine for them, but once they tend to cultivate, it kind of changes direction for them a little bit. It gives it a little bit extra meaning. But I mean, does that equate when you start that far back? I mean, when we're kids at 14, 15, we're so cocky that we don't necessarily put two and two together sometimes
No.
until now. There's some
Yeah.
things I'm still putting together.
Yeah. That's the truth. That's the truth, man. I mean, yeah. It being like it was therapy for me to grow the stuff. You know, I always grew the carrots and I always grew the fruit tree, or I always grew the friggin' celery. I was always planting the squash. So I always like watching stuff growing anyway. So it was like I was just supposed to do it, you know? It wasn't like I needed cannabis in the beginning. Like I was just a dumb kid, like taking advantage of everything just like everybody else. It was, you know, just a few years ago when I finally really admitted that it had like, value on a medicinal standpoint. I was like, wow, it actually really is fucking medicine. You know what I mean? Like I used to get mad at people when they called it medicine when I was a young punk, in my early 20s. I'm like, you're just getting high, like get real. But then like doing the research and figuring it out and actually having a few times in your life when you needed to use it, or you passed that knowledge and you saw the results, it was like, man, it's undeniable. Like, damn, it's fucking medicine. And just the other day, I had the worst stomach ache in the whole world. I was like dying, and I took a fat rip. I coughed for a second, and like 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, I was right as rain. I'm like, damn, that shit is medicine, dude. It's fucking the best. Nothing would have helped that. No tum in the world would have done that for me. So from crazy ass cancers and nasty ass diseases to the silliest little stomach ache, it actually is a badass plant. And then figuring out all those other things you can do with it, you can make shit with it, and that's what I'm all about. I'm a farm guy. My spot here, I got when COVID hit, we basically closed the gate. Close the gates. You know what I mean? It's like we close the gates. We can live off the land back here if we have to. You know what I mean? Fight off the zombie apocalypse. You know what I mean? No problem. Pick them off at the gate, man. No problem. Plenty of trees, plenty of food, plenty of cool stuff sitting here. So like the fact that cannabis can like build stuff and clothe you and then feed you with the seeds and stuff like that. It's crazy. I've been putting cannabis seeds in smoothies. It's like it is a fucking miracle ass plant. So I definitely have the respect, and I've always had the glory and like the meaning and like the umph. But in the beginning, it was like I saw those seeds and I'm like, dude, there was no way that I wasn't going to plant them. There was no way that those things weren't going to at least try. And if they would have never came up, I probably would have never done it again. I probably would have never tried again. You know what I mean? It would have just went on with my life. But the fact that they like all came up, or most of them came up, and I had this responsibility, like this new life that needed me. Like if I didn't show up, I didn't water it, the thing would die. And that was important to me, So if I didn't have that, then who knows where I would be if those ones didn't sprout, So thankfully they did, man. Because yeah, man, plants are the shit. Not just cannabis, but plants are the shit. But it took me down that rainbow,
It does take you down that road too, where it links you to growing and just other things in general. Takes a little bit. Usually, when you dip your feet into organics, I think a little bit is when you start to spread your wings and
Yeah,
realize you can start using your growing skills for the greater good.
for sure, for sure, for sure. You know, I love I love growing weed and food as healthy as I can. And I love eating a piece of fruit and going, man, I didn't spray that thing with anything horrible, you know. And there's so many pieces of fruit, like all of them on the shelf are just sprayed with horrible shit. You know what I mean? Like from even the organic ones in a lot of cases, you know, it's like I wouldn't even do half the stuff that they do to that stuff, you know, if I didn't have to. So it's so nice, man. It's so rewarding to be able to just, you know, go outside and eat something and not have to think about it, you know. It's awesome, dude. Best way to be.
Some of my favorite times picking green beans straight out of the garden.
Yeah,
That's one of my favorite garden foods right there, just for that reason.
right up.
Best right off the plant.
Yep. When they're screaming, I always tell my kids, I'm like, you take a bite of something, it could be an apple or it could be a green bean or whatever, and you take a bite, I'm like, wait, shh. You hear that? It's screaming because it's alive still. You know what I mean? I always tell them that, you hear that? It's like, that's the way. It's like, and you're eating it right now. You know, it's screaming. It's fully alive. That's the way you need to be eating it. You know, so we're always joking with my kids. You know, you got to eat it when it's screaming. So that's the best way, right off the plant.
Never really thought about it like that, but that's pretty funny and very true.
It's still alive, man. If you're eating something that's still alive like that, man, that's great. It's this peak. You're just taking that energy directly. You're not letting any of that life force go. It's going right to you, man. It's cool.
So what was the first real strain you remember or dealt with?
There's three strains that there's four that we used to get all the time, but the two that we used to get that I used to love the most were the old P91, San Diego P91, and the San Diego Bull Rider. And both of which are like SoCal legends, you know what I mean? They didn't make it very far in other places and you know, take on that whole chem persona, but they should have. The old P91 was so good. It programmed me right. You know, it was just this dank ass stuff. And when the house got busted back in the day, the raided, it was a whole you know, a whole little situation. They said that it was the most sophisticated high-tech grow facility they had ever seen up until that point. And was what was cranking out that P91 or something in the report or something along those lines, you know. And I was like, God damn, you know. And you like, you know, and you could tell we used to get wet batches of this stuff because they would just sell it wet. So, you know, they make extra money, it weighed more, and you got it out of your hands quick. You know what I mean? So they'd just always be a little wet. So we get it. We always have to open it up. And, you know, we were real close. So we got good wet batches, and it was, man, some of the best stuff in the world, man. It's saved our life on many occasions by over stinking to the point where the cops are like asking us what's going on, and I can just hand him an eighth of P91 and say, sorry, sir, this was me. And he'll just be like, okay, this is obviously what's smelling so bad. I'm not even going to check the rest of the truck. You guys have a good day. You know what I mean? Like we'd get out of trouble because, you know, it gets you in trouble, keep you out of trouble, and all the above. It was a great strain, man. And then the Bull Rider was the same way. And when you ripped that, it was like riding the bull. You literally were fucking riding the bull. It would tear you to pieces. But I'll never forget those two. Brandon Rust, he's got, or he says he's got, I've never seen it or anything, but he says he's got some connections to the old SD Bull Rider. And you know, he remembers that fondly like I do, in a lot of ways. So there's a couple of cats in the community that had touched those things. Matt Riot, he did that P91 project. Supposedly the last P91 clone was lost to him, and he did the last S1 project with it, and that's how those S1 P91 seeds got out there. But there's a couple of cats, that touch those two strains, that are legit. So they're I'll never forget them, and I'm always on the hunt. So if anybody ever, if anybody's tight into that crew, and they want to reach out to me, man, let me know, man. That was my programming. That was my young programming. And we used to get that Hog's Breath, the San Diego Hog's Breath, that one that Kevin Jodrey holds and talks so fondly of. That was a killer back in the day. And the old Betsy, 707 Seed Bank. He worked with that old Betsy for a while, and Obsolete worked with the old Betsy. That's a CSI worked with the old Betsy. That's a killer old plant too, man, that we used to get all the time wet batches of, so. But P91 and Bull Rider, man, long story to get to P91 and Bull Rider. Those are my two lost Oracle strains. Those are my two firsts.
So when have you always concentrated more on outdoors? When did you first have to come indoors? When was the first indoor? What was it like?
Yeah. So for the longest time, for the first 5 or 6 years, 14 to 20-ish, maybe 19, 14 and 19, somewhere in there. I just grew outside, and we did canyons, and we did guerrilla grows, and we did backyard stuff, and we just grew outside, anytime that we could, and we just took advantage of the San Diego weather, and we would try to just get things going as much as we could all year and push stuff. In the winter, it would be leafier, and in certain parts of the season, we would pull good, better crops based on the climate. But we concentrated on outdoor for that first 5 or 6 years, working on that. And then I got a job, being cutting clones, filling water bins, water totes, spraying, stuff like that at a cat's. These guys ran a couple of houses in the neighborhood, and they lit up a couple of houses in the neighborhood, and they needed a couple of hands to live at the houses and check in on them and stuff like that. So I got a part-time job watering plants and cutting clones and just working at a couple of those houses and just doing rotating shifts on them and just kind of helping things go along. And that's how I learned how to, grow under lights. And that's where I first saw when they opened up that first giant little room space that they knocked out the wall, beautiful, fucking beautiful. When they opened that up, it was just the perfect sea of green, screened out. It was just rock wool, drained to waste, just type situation, just rocking this whole situation there. And man, I was like, wow, this is cool. And then I started learning from the guys about the light spectrums and the hours. And that's when I really figured out, okay, so the hours of the day, that makes a difference. That's how we control that. And learned how to, cut clones better and stuff like that from those guys. And then they started using some really fucking toxic ass shit. They were all about the money. They were spraying and a couple days before, harvest, for botrytis and shit, just putting paclobutrizols and all kinds of stuff in there. And I remember they brought this stuff and they're like, we want to put this stuff in there because we'll get double the weight. And, and I'm like, well, I did some research on my, that shit's horrible. You don't want to be using that stuff. You know what I mean? And they're like, no, this is what we're doing. You don't have a job anymore. So every time I had a work shift and I was supposed to add the juice that I didn't want to add, I wouldn't add it because nobody was there to tell me otherwise. So I just give them all the regular food, and I would take care of the plants because I cared for the plants. And I was always trying to tell them, I'm like, well, let me have a couple of tables and I'll run those my way organically, and you run yours your way, and we'll see who's actually will come out with the weight, you know what I mean, on both sides. And I started kind of overstepping my bounds a little bit. And then and then finally the like Washington, I think, or it was Washington or Colorado, I forget which one was first, but whoever was first to like fully legalize and like say, hey, we're legalizing weed, everybody come, basically everybody packed up their shit and moved there. I think it was Washington was where they moved to, and they packed up everything and moved there. And we finished off the last tables that were in the house, me and the other 2 workers, before we had to pack it down and break it down. We finished it off all organic. And that's what proved to me that I could fucking do this shit the way that I wanted to do it, no problem. And that's where I was like, okay, that job had ended. I started doing that, in a couple other places and a couple other ways, and, kind of making my own way that way. And then I ended up giving it up for a little while and meeting my wife and having a kid and moving out and getting a little place and kind of cutting myself off from everybody. And that's when I broke out my seed collection that I pulled Pam and stuff out of. And I pulled Pam out, and I didn't want to lose her. So I had to go inside and stay inside. So ever since then, that's been years now. It's been 8, 9, maybe 10 years, something like that now, 8 years, something like that. Not at least 8, maybe 9 years. And so plants go out in the summer, old clones. I have a lot of heirloom cuts, cool stuff that's fucking badass, and stuff goes out into the orchards outside and gets planted into the ground, revitalized through the whole growing season outdoors. Right before late July, right before everybody starts to make the shift, I take clones of those fresh, totally regenerated plants, and they go back inside for the winter, and they stay through the winter and work on breeding and, stay alive and just make it through the winter until they can come out next season and touch the sun. And that's just what I've been doing for years. And I don't keep very much, but I keep the special ones that, a couple things Kev has given me, a couple things I found and I love. And, that's about it. I work lots of seeds and try to spread that out to as many people as I can, so I can see as many different places of my seed grown in person. So every place I do fruit trees. So we go out, we take a look at people's fruit trees, these nice little, that they're well-off folks, in upscale neighborhoods who grow their own food, and they also want to grow some medicine. So we grow their 6, and they get my seeds. We get a look at different varieties and see what they do. And if we ever find anything super special, I can take cuts off of those, bring those in for hunting wise. So I can look at, hundreds of plants at different places every year that I don't have to worry about or touch or do anything with, So it's a good way I can do some sorting and playing. But in the beginning, man, it was to keep Pam alive. And, before that, it was because of the hustle. And I just wanted to learn as much as I can. Anything I do, I learn like crazy. I get all crazy and I dive in head first, man. If I'm interested in something, I'll be a friggin' expert on it, as fast as I can be, So I try to find as much knowledge on things as I can. So that's what I did, man. So best thing I can do is take those things outside every year. If I don't, they're pissed at me. They'll be like, man, I didn't get to go out this year. There's a couple of years I've missed where they didn't get to go out or their timing didn't work. But, if you can get them out there and you get them perfectly, like, do the shift, man, they're happy and beautiful all the time. They love it.
I agree. Most people put them outside to like, well, I'm an indoor grower, and I haven't necessarily, I've lived in a few different spots, and putting plants outside always hasn't been a thing. You know what I mean? It hasn't even been an option. So
Totally.
There's the few times I've actually put things outside, and it's almost every time, to be honest with you, it's either to try to bring something back real quick, set it outside for a few weeks until it gets all nice and green,
yep,
healthy, and sun just is
amazing.
A beautiful doctor.
Yes.
But or a reveg. I'll put things out early spring, chop her back, because, and again, because of things changing and trying to abide by or use the laws for my benefit, I guess. There's times where you've been to Michigan, you know how it works.
Yeah.
We're limited to the plants we have, and then we have our rec. Well, there's times to where in the spring I almost bank on that extra 12 because I know I'm not necessarily going to flower outdoors. I may if they get that far, yeah, all right. But in the spring, I'll count on like planting some new stuff, right around that time, and then I'll take out some carcasses to let
Yep.
them be my rec plants outdoors and and re-veg and kind of hold the
Heck
strain
yeah.
for me out there, and then I'll bring some cuts back in, when it kind of
Yeah,
cut
there you go.
thing, and then if whatever happens after that point, well, it happens. If I get anything out of it, I get anything out of it. If not, it's not the point. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind
Totally.
of a buffer, if you
Yeah,
will.
yeah. Well, yeah, little emergency situation there. No, that's cool, man. That's cool. I like getting my plants sometimes. I'm lucky. We live in SoCal, but I like getting some plants in flower, growing them inside, getting them to like week 4 or something like that, in flower, and then just put them outside to finish them off. You know what I mean? And that transfer, like from inside, that you get that indoor start where it's got like that crisp look, and then you can just throw them outside for a little bit, and then all of a sudden you get the color starts really going, and that sun is the excellent doctor. So then you get all this extra little, expressions, I would think, you know what I mean? And I do that all the time. And that saves me space inside too, because you can just take a couple. You're like, oh, cool, I'll take this one out. You can go outside now. I got new space now. So, but the sun finishes them off, man. It's great. Taking advantage of that. I do that all the time, man. Just let the sun finish it off. Let the weather make it a pretty flower, and then it kind of gets the best of both worlds in a weird way.
I want to ask this question mainly because he's a regular, but because he's in chat too. I think he actually might have said this, but I'm going to ask anyway before we get too far. He said, Red Pill would like to know, can you ask Mr. Trees if he remembers the P91 cross called Pitbull, P91 times sugar plum?
No, I never got that one. No. As soon as it started getting the crosses, I was so close to the original source of the P91 that I didn't get anything but the P91 until it was just gone one day. And it was like an abrupt, it was gone one day. They came and stopped that finally, but it was a few years where it ran good and became a legendary thing, and then it was just gone, and I never saw it again. I never heard about it. I never saw it, and I just assumed that it was long gone. And then I started hearing little whispers of it popping up here, and people saying they have this, that, and the other, and I never saw it again, and I never saw any legitimate crosses of it either. But I'd love to, because I'll never forget it, man. I mean, like I said, I was close, and we grew some seeds that was gifted to my best friend's sister. She was our older sister, and she was close to them. And I don't know, I think maybe she was dating one of them or something. I don't really know. I was too little, but I know that she had seed of the P91, and she could get seed, and she always had the best stuff, and she always took care of us. So I remember growing that shit. I know it really well, how it grows, how it looks, how it smells. I remember hundreds of batches of that. It's one of my favorites, but never saw it again. Never saw it again.
So I wish I could grow outdoors. I do. So much goodness to be had out there. Free,
Yeah,
mainly free.
free. Yeah, free. Free. Yeah. Yeah, especially here, man. They shut off your power. We have to have, you got to stop stuff. everything's extra expensive. You know what I mean? If you can't use the sun where I'm at, man, it costs a pretty penny, man, to go all year the right way. You know, and you can get away with stuff, but do it in the right way is not going to be cheap. You know, so yeah, outside. I've been building lots of hoops and covers and different structures, and over the years figuring out how I can overwinter those 40-degree nights and 38-degree nights that I have, which aren't really bad. You get one night of that, and then the next day it's 70 again anyway. So if you can just get through some of those cold nights, you know, you're golden on some of that. So, you know, a good covered greenhouse, and then I've been building compost piles like inside of it, and that heats up that residual heat. Kind of, you can get them small enough and get a compost pile in there to get a little bit of warmth in there. I've tried with some burlap bags so it's above the ground. I've done it in the ground. I've been doing it different placements and different greenhouses, trying to figure out where to go. But I noticed right around that compost area, and then, you know, if you can get it really going hot, if you can get it extra going, you warm that place up really nice. And they are just happy in a sauna, and it's 38 degrees outside and they don't care. You know what I mean? It's actually pretty cool. So throw a couple of, you know, shade cloths and other stuff on the top to try to just tarps to try to keep things as insulated as possible during the nighttime hours. You know what I mean? And that helps a lot, man. Doesn't cost a thing. And you're making compost, you know? So I'm always trying to do weird stuff like that, you know, where cutting costs, man, because, man, I hate paying for power and shit. That sucks.
It's an awesome idea. I've never even thought about it to like bring it indoors kind of as a heat into like a greenhouse. At one point, I kind of, when I dipping my feet, and I'm still dipping my feet, don't get me wrong. I'm not, organics is a deep hole, deep hole. Lots of twists and turns and wormholes along the way. But once I realized that, you know, how hot the compost piles got, I posed the question to Smiley, I believe it was, you know, how come we're not using this kind of technology for like water heating for our houses? I mean, you could run pipes through that shit, pipe in hot water. I mean, it seems the thing to
Yeah.
do. I mean, why waste that heat? You know what I mean? You can
Yeah.
actually control your piles down by, you know, warm, cold water. You can cool it down if you had to.
Heck yeah, man. I can keep a pile, you know, at 130 something degrees, you know, for 3 or 4 days. You know, I can keep it right there, 130 degrees, 3 or 4 days. You know what I mean? So depending on the pile, right? And that little generator does a lot, man, in a hoop. You know what I mean? If you can get it going right, you know. And I'm still, like I said, I've been trying to figure this shit out for the last few years on like how to do it like the best way. You know what I mean? Because there is super benefit to that. I've never thought about running water through there. That's a good idea. I do dig trenches like underneath the greenhouses or underneath the beds or whatever, the hoops or whatever structure I have. And I dig a little trench, and I get they're like those drain pipes, you know, those big plastic black, just drain pipes. You know what I mean? You can buy at Home Depot. It's just a big pipe or tube or whatever, flexible tube. And I just lay that in there and bend up the ends and then bury it and just leave one end open at this on one side and one end open at the other end. And then I can pour hot water down into those little pipes, and that goes down underneath my greenhouse. And then I can cap them both off with a friggin', you know, a shirt or whatever, a piece of cardboard or whatever, just jam a towel in there, and that caps it off. And I trap all that boiling hot water in those little plastic pipes down underneath of the greenhouse, and that does some soil warming. You know what I mean? And it warms up my stuff, so I can go through a really frost prone night. You know what I mean? Dump some boiling water in there like at 10:30 at night, and you know, call it good. And hopefully, you know, it holds through. And it, damn if it doesn't. It really does help a lot. It seems to work a lot. But that's one of those warm techniques I've been working on. But can't do that if you got snow on the ground and shit. That's a whole nother ball game. I can't believe, you know, if I had snow or ice or sleet or something like that, I'd be definitely less hesitant. I'd be more hesitant. I wouldn't even try, you know. but we can get away with it.
You wouldn't believe, you talk about how different locations can be. Email keeps popping up. Uh, how a little bit of geographic distance can make. Here, so probably most of the half of the state you've been down to, like winter, I guess. I used to live down there in like Tennessee County for most of my life. And it snows. It might be around for a few days. It'll warm up and get rid of most of it. Doesn't seem to accumulate over the winter's time. Now, I moved 150 miles north, and what a difference. Okay, that's just what made me key to the switch. I never really realized it. Up here now, I'm thankful there's no snow on the ground. This is like the first year there hasn't been snow on the ground right now. Usually it snows before Halloween, and then it's like May, easy, sometimes the end of May before
Yeah.
I see green. And it's just so too much. And then it goes like this. Once you're up here where the snow stays, that you can go 5 miles south and they might get a few inches less than I do, like when it snows. You can go 10 miles north and like say if I get 6 inches of snow, they're getting like 12 or 16. And if you
Damn.
go up like 30 miles more than that, you know what I mean? Whole nother snow belt. I mean, that's how different the weather patterns are up here during the winter. And oh yeah, I could be so sick of snow. I'm sick of snow already, and I haven't even seen it ground covered, but for 2 hours so far.
That's dude. I think I was like 28 or 26 or something when I first saw snow. I never even saw snow until I was like 26. And then I drove somewhere and there was some like frozen ice on the ground that kind of was white. It's not real snow. It's like desert snow, you know? And I was like, oh my God, look at there's snow, you know? And I had no idea. And then, I finally went to upstate New York and there's some snow up there, So Buffalo and they get snow. So, yeah, I saw it for the first time, man. And I can't imagine living like up in it like every day and just doing it. Like I was like there was nobody had fruit trees in their yards, and like it was just snow everywhere, you know what I mean? It was like you either had a big ass tree somewhere or you just had snow. It was like nothing. So man, you got to grow inside. I'm glad you do. That's how you keep your sanity, man. That's good stuff, dude. You could be outside, inside, and that's cool. I like that.
Man, if it wouldn't for this garden, I really believe I would absolutely know what stir crazy is.
Yeah. God, I just can't imagine. I bitch so much when it's like 48 degrees. I'm like bitching about how cold it is. And, it's like, wow, I get, but it costs, everywhere you go, you're getting, you're paying for something in some other way. You know what I mean? It's like you're gonna give something up, you're gonna get something. You're gonna give something up, you're gonna get something. But I was talking to Josh Rutherford today, and just like that climate thing you're talking about, it was 101 degrees here today where I was. It was 101 degrees where I was today, which was crazy. Some crazy ass heat wave, right? Just ripped through. It was 100 degrees today, and I was talking to him, and he says he's been in a downpour for days, and there is so much water he can't drive anywhere, he can't walk outside and move his tractors properly. It's just like it's just water everywhere. And it's like, man, I haven't even seen water. We got signs on the road that say severe drought, conserve water, you know what I mean? Like when you're driving down the freeway, we got these big signs that say that, and it's just like 100 degrees. It's like, wow, just the difference is just a little bit of distance, man. It's crazy.
Sure, man. I'm like you in the sense like one thing winter has taught me, because I'm not necessarily. I chose to go away from the city. All right, I was born in like a small town, and that was cool. And then I moved to like city for a while, and then after a while, well, first when I since I had kids, when I found out I was having a kid, I'm like, yeah, fuck the city, let's go, going,
Yeah.
going, going to the sticks, man. And that slowed life down. I got to like that, but it wasn't until winters up here to where I was like, yeah, I can do long periods of time and learn to take care of myself. And you know what I mean? So when
Yeah.
COVID hit, man, I was used to these long winters. I'm like, fine. I'm looking
No
around. I'm
problem.
like, close the door. I got smoke. I got freezers full.
You know, that's the shit. Yeah, man. Gotta live, gotta live out a little bit. I hate that, it's good to visit, but I like living out where I got a place to park and your neighbor's not looking down, into your bathroom, stuff like that. I like that, man. So I like having a little bit of space. I can plant a tree outside if I want to. I like that. That's good.
Just was thinking, man, everybody talks about like how even you were like, man, it's kind of like a family event and shit. I kind of now I'm that I think about it, talk about the winners and shit. Maybe it's just like we're all just like that stir crazy for winter and shit. Hey, how you doing? Just so happy to be around people. And we're smoking pot. Oh my god, I love you.
That's totally that's got something to do with it, I'm sure. Shit, you get stuck in your house. I mean, probably don't leave for a while. Get snowed in. You get a shovel to move. Just people say fuck it, probably. So yeah, and everybody. That's what I mean. Everybody makes it out. That's what I was blown away by. It's like everybody seemed to be there. Everybody was there. Everybody is always happy to see you. Everybody's there kind of close, and it's just you're onto something there, bro. That's for sure. That's real. That's
Tell
real.
you what, you've given me a couple of good days, man. The day I got to meet you there in the file was quite a day. I was greatly appreciated that time meeting you, hanging out for a few minutes, catching that photo op, which I always
Yo,
try to do. I always try to get pictures, man. I guess I try. Maybe it's just me, but I think it's cheesy or whatever. But man, there are moments that are easily lost, man. I try to capture that shit. But
yeah.
definitely good times, man. And the night you wore the shirt on the EO show there, I
Oh
got
yeah. Did
flooded with DMs. Mr. Tree's wearing your shirt on the EO shirt. I go flip it out. I'm like, hell yeah, that is fucking completely awesome. Completely made my day that day. So
Oh yeah.
thank you for that, man.
No,
That
man.
definitely
Yeah,
gave me a big cheese.
no, I like that. No, it's cool, man. You gotta support our people. You know what I mean? So the best friends are the kinds that what's that saying? What is that saying? That the best people are the people that have mentioned your name in a room full of opportunities or something like that. You know what I mean? So so you gotta support each other. You know what I mean? That's what it's about.
I'm not even exaggerating when I say my DMs got flooded. Flooded. Did you see that? You see
That's rad.
that?
That's rad. I like that. No, that's a
I
good
was
shirt,
super
man. I
grateful.
like that. No, I like that shirt. That's a good shirt. I wear it all the time. You know what I mean? So that's my garden shirt. I wear it all the time in the garden. So I like that.
Appreciate that.
I'm gonna have to get you one of my Mr. Tree shirts. Get you hooked up with one of those. Put my face on your chest there. Most people might be weird about that, but hey, we'll put it on there.
Oh man, I'm all about supporting all my friends, man. In fact, this is a Michigan guy right here. The Dabs for Dads.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's sick. That's sick.
Support each other, man. That's what That's what the show's about. Is kind of supporting each other. Spotlight each other. Sure, letting people know about other great folks in the cannabis community. So it all got started. That and I got I love cannabis. I love to talk cannabis, but it got to the point where I was like going to so many events and I would see the same folks over and over and over, you know. And again, I love talk cannabis and I, you know, whatever. But I got to the point where I was like, so what else do you do? You know what I mean? What else, you know, what else we got besides cannabis that's going on here? And that's kind of what kind of fell in here, man. I'm like, man, I just want to get to know the person behind, you know, what we see and shit, what got them to where they are now. See, I never heard that story. It was always what's in my garden and, you know, what we're smoking on, but it was never, you know, how the fuck you got
Yeah.
there to where you are.
No, we need more of that, you know. Like that's I love flipping through and seeing some of the shows and seeing everybody kind of finally kind of, you know, put it together. We need to tell the stories, you know. There's so much stuff that we couldn't talk about or deal with or, you know, living alone and, you know, not telling anybody nothing, you know what I mean? Anytime you got together with another person you could talk about weed with or growing with, man, it was like they were your best friend in the world, you know. So uniting the army, man. That's you keep doing that, man. That's good stuff, man. I like that a lot. It's definitely needed. You know, we need it.
Well, with that being said, let's get into the story of breeding. Your chapter of breeding. What made you unnecessarily, you know, preservation? Was it what was it made you want to take a serious road down the breeding aspect of cannabis?
So it was really like I had done, you know, I'd made seeds before so that I could grow plants, so that I could trade plants. You know, I'd never really thought about these were different plants or breeding or the new offspring that they created or anything. So like when I was young, I made a bunch of seeds, but when I found the Pam and I needed to keep that plant, and I was like, I'm gonna try to keep this plant. I'm gonna make this my plant. You know what I mean? Like this is the one. I'm not gonna let this one go. I've seen too many good ones come and go. I'm gonna be in control of this one. So I was like, I'm keeping this one. I grew that for several years, not knowing anything about it other than I liked it. And everybody I gave it to, they always wanted, you know, they liked it too, you know. So I kept it around and I grew it. And then I eventually like heard Kevin Jodrey talking about phylos and gene mapping. And I was like, oh shit, you know, like that's interesting as fuck. You know, I've always wondered, like, you know, what the hell is it? You know, where did it come from? I never bought a pack of seeds. I didn't even really realize you could buy a pack of seeds, you know, until, you know, around that time. And I heard him talking about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna look into that. So I looked into it and I ended up, you know, paying the money and taking a dead branch of her and sending it off for gene mapping. And I figured what this will do is it'll tell me, hopefully, you know, what the hell she is, who she's related to, and then I can better make, you know, breeding decisions. You know, I could do better. I would know where to go. I wouldn't breed the same things or the wrong things or whatever. I just wanted the more information I had, the better. So I started really looking into, you know, I was reading, you know, Mendel's stuff, and I was reading all kinds of different books and listening to different things here or there and just learning all about things. And I work in fruit trees, and I bred all kinds of different things using pollen from citrus, from mangoes, from all kinds of stuff. So it's all the same shit, you know? So I was like, okay, I'm going to start working this line. I want to figure out what it is. And I want to start moving forward, because nobody's going to be like, well, what is it? You know, like, what is it? And I'm not going to know what the hell it is. So I need to figure it out. Right. So I sent it off, paid the money, got results back, not related to the current gene pool, which didn't tell me shit. It basically broke down, like, you know, kind of a few different properties, its rareness on a chemical standpoint, which was, you know, pretty, you know, it wasn't completely unique, but it was not general on the scale. And then I was like, okay, so out of all the samples that they tested, it's not really closely related to any of those. And you could look at, you know, other plants that are in the pool and they have all closely related relatives. And it was like, okay, so this must be special, or I need to know more data. So at that point, I'm like, I got to really preserve this thing. So that like supercharged my breeding with it. And I started popping all my old stuff and all the things that I had, and started mixing and matching things and playing and dabbling, and, you know, not cooking seeds like properly, or not growing them long enough, and figuring out the trials and tribulations of shucking them properly, the different techniques, learning different things. And I did that for a few years, like probably, I don't know, 4 years, 3 years, something like that, fiddling around, trying to make stuff. Was trying to source seeds anywhere I could overseas and all over the place, man, trying to figure stuff out. And then finally I kind of started meeting people from the community, you know, and people started knowing my Instagram a little bit more. And then I started meeting people at different events and sharing stuff around. And I always carried seeds with me, like in my bag or my backpack. I still do it to this day. They're in my, you know, in my truck, or I usually have seeds with me all the time, you know, in some way or shape or form. And if you're kind or nice at the gas station, like you're the gas station dude, you're working there, and I'm like, yo, 20 on 1 or whatever. And I roll in there and you're like, yo, bro, hey man, you have a good day, man. Or you got good energy about you. I always walk out to the truck and I'll walk back in and ask you, hey, you got a garden? And they don't ever know what I'm asking them. And I'm like, here's some seeds. And they're always like, oh my God, that's awesome. And I always give people seeds. So I did that for a long time over those 3 or 4 years, and people started growing them. And all of a sudden I started getting messages from people. I'm like, dude, I love these plants, these seeds, and all this and that. And, you know, how do I get more? What's the deal? And I'm like, well, there's something to this, you know what I mean? So then I really started doing it and trying to figure out, okay, I'm going to take this to this direction. I'm going to split these lines up. I'm going to try to make what I'm looking for. I tried to make the old bull rider. I wanted to find those chemotypes. I wanted to find the plants of my youth that I would keep and change the world, you know? And the other day, my buddy came over and he was looking at these green eggs and ham that I've been working on. And he's like, damn, these are awesome. Look at these. And I'm looking at it. It's good. I really like that one. And he picked the one that I would have picked out of the group. And he's like, let me get a cut of this. I'm like, I don't have any cuts of any of these. And he's like, well, why not? And I said, is it going to change the world? You know what I mean? Is it going to literally change the world? Because if it's not, then I'm going to continue on and do this. You know, we need to work. You know what I mean? He's like, dude, you're crazy, dog. You know? So it's like, I really want to make the shit that you want to fucking smoke, that you want to keep around. And every time somebody grows something, and they get something from somewhere, and they, you know, reach out and like show me a picture, or they grow it, and I'm like, dude, I'm re-vegging this. And they'll, you know, they get the re-veg, and a couple months later I'll get another message, and they're like, dude, I love this. And I just continue kind of growing that strain that just makes it home in their heart, you know. And all over the world now, there's people, I mean, all over the world, you know, there's people that are growing it, that are loving it, and they're just like keeping it. And that's when you keep it, that's the goal. You know what I mean? You know, anybody can grow stuff, and yeah, that's good, you know, whatever, you know. But if you keep it, or you try to keep it, or you're pissed that you lost it, you know, then I did the job. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about, you know. So been doing that for a long time, just making seeds and sharing seeds. I try to give them to everybody I can, you know. If anybody supports me and does that stuff, they always get extra stuff. You know, I'm always like, here. And I always got new funny things and cool stuff. And I like chasing weird cannabinoid ratios of weird plants. Like one of my favorite plants in the world that I'm going to breed one day is going to be like a 3%, 3%, 3%, like 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%, but all the different cannabinoids that I can get, right? You know, as many of the basket elements that I can get on board. I want 3% across the board. I want it balanced 3% across the board with, you know, 15 different cannabinoids, you know. It's one of my projects that I like to do. So I grow a lot of weird things like that. And I'm doing some mutant stuff with the Australian bastard, and making some bastard Pam, and I got some bastard 91. And, you know, you gotta take those to certain generations, because you can plant F1s of mutant seeds. If you cross a mutant with a regular plant of chem, that first generation isn't going to show mutants because it's recessive. So you can plant as many of those seeds as you want. You're not going to find any of those leaf shapes in there. So you got to breed all those together, and then you actually got to do some work to uncover the right leaf shapes, you know. So I'm an F3 now, and that's 100% leaf shape that I want. I don't get any weird ones in there anymore for the most part, which is nice. They're all mutants. Now it's on selection. So which ones are the winners now that they're all mutants, and then you start working with those ones. So that's a cool thing I've been working on for a while, and got some weird Kandahar red dead body stuff from you know, Irizin from Indian Land Race Exchange, you know. Cool ass dude. He helped me a lot with some PAM and some identification, and you know, gave me his thoughts on some stuff and where his travels were and morphological characteristics, and we did some talking on that. And you know, I'm really looking forward to these friggin' dead body terps, man. These are some nasty garbage can, armpit, skunk funk you've ever seen, and even in veg, like just awesome. You're like, these are gonna be good, you know. So doing an open population, so we get the line opened up, and then we'll go down the road, you know, start doing some funkadelic stuff. Put some dead body with some tangerine, dead body tangerine, dead body blueberry.
Can't help but laugh at the dead body. I mean, think about it. We all have all the terps we've been, you know. At one point, we had to like almost kill off the skunk because it was too loud. Other strains were too loud. Got a little happy when we got some fruits in here. Who's gonna knock at the door and bitch about fucking oranges or cherries? You know, nobody's gonna go, well, is that cannabis? No, it's just got a bunch of, you know, just got a bunch of fruit in. You know what I mean? But then somebody knocks on the door and it smells like you've got a stack of dead bodies in the garage. Well, serial killer might be your next new nickname.
Yeah. You know, I always tell people, I'm like, you know, I'm looking for that stuff. Like, you can have something really loud. Like, you can name any cut you want. You can name GMO. You can name friggin' any OGs, any loud cut that you want. You name whatever, the hype strain, whatever. If you're walking through a concert somewhere, like back in the day when we were young, right? When you went to the concert and that dude opened up the bag, right? Or just showed up at the concert, like every motherfucker in the building knew that you were there. You know what I mean? Like it was just rancid, skunk, funk, herb, that dank stuff that we had to kill off. You were automatically, everybody would look at you. Like these days, you could walk into a concert with any modern day cut, any hype thing, any good thing, which I love. I'm not talking trash about any of that stuff. I love all that stuff. I love all weed. But you could walk in with any cut these days, open up your bag, and you know, maybe 3 or 4 people in the immediate vicinity will say, hey, that smells good. You know what I mean? Maybe if you did a good job, you know what I mean? Most of the time, everybody's going to walk by, but I'm looking for that shit that clears out the building that people are like, dude, who brought this shit? Call the cops. This motherfucker like this. Like, yeah, I want that stuff, you know? So that's why I sought that one out, because I miss those old ones, you know, that you couldn't grow in the neighborhood without everybody knowing, you know, and just, yeah, that's how I met my wife, dude. She's like, do you smell a skunk around here? I'm like, yeah, that's my pocket. You know, it's like, yeah. So, you know, I miss those. I miss those ones, you know? So.
I think everybody does. So I think you're on the right path there. Mr. Amadeus in chat, much respect to you, good sir, has a 2-part question for you, if you would. He said, what are some of your long day flowering cultivars? And he also would like to know if you have any quick flowering in terpy.
So, like the Orchard Lady stuff, anything Orchard Lady, Martha's Orchard, that's a really good one that people's, you know, they sleep on that one just because it doesn't have a tutti fruity name, but Martha's Orchard's a killer one. Those ones are a faster flower set. The Orchard Lady is a lot faster. They're usually by the end of September, you know, last week of September. somewhere in there, you could pull down some of the Orchard Lady Phenos really easy, maybe the last week of September. If you're in the first week of October, you know, you're moving on to other things. That Orchard Lady's quick. But the Martha's Orchard, that one has got Orchard Lady in it. That's got some CBD characteristics. That's a 2-part PAM with a couple of added ingredients there. You know, it's a citrus farmer resin stud, sorted resin stud out of a good population. And then on the other side is a 2-to-1 CBD THC male, tested out, Afghan, skunk Afghan, haze hybrid from 3D CBD. But yeah, so it's got some CBD in there. But that one's a cool one. Those are the short ones. The longer you go, any of the OG ones, the new fem drops that went out, that are out right now, we'll be remaking them. But the PAM heirloom SFE, Kev's heirloom SFE, Mandelbrot's original breeding stock plant, bred to the PAM. Those ones are a little, those are typical, first week, second week October, finishing out. Most of the regular PAM stuff is going to be like the first week of October, second week of October. I have some an old Hell's Angel cut, my buddy Birthright Seco. Check him out, man. If anybody, doesn't know who Birthright is, he's a cool dude. He's got some killer sour stuff that he's been holding on. It's an old Hell's Angel, OG type cut that he's held on to for a long time. I love it. Every time I smoke it, I'm like, man, I like that stuff. And I've grown it like 2 or 3 times. And every time I'm like, why the hell didn't I clone that one? That's a good one. It's always good. He always surprises me. It's like, God damn, that's good. So I'm going to grow some more of that. But he does a lot of good inbred work. He's a good breeder. He actually works his lines, lots of BX, BC ones, back crosses, and lots of, filial generation stuff. He does good stuff. He's a cool dude. But yeah, he has this Hell's Angel sour OG cut, and that goes a little long. And everything that I breed that to, it takes on that longer flower characteristic. So you're looking like the last 2 weeks of October, for those ones. As opposed to, earlier, the first couple weeks or last week of September. So anything with the sour OG Kush, Hell's Angel sour OG Kush in there is going to be a little long. Anything with the regular OGs and other stuff that I do is going to be a little long. But most stuff, because I'm here in SoCal, most stuff for me finishes out by the first week of October. It's like October 1st. You should have most everything ready to go or close to it. Climate's a big deal though, so it really depends on where you're growing and how you're growing it, but most things are going to be first week October. I don't fiddle with any autoflower stuff at this point. I have before, but it's not my interest at the moment. So nothing really fast, but yeah, you're looking Orchard Lady stuff. Anything Orchard Lady, you're good to go. Anything with that and that lineage. And that's good shit too, man. Bubblegum, armpits, and citrus tones, but not like orange, more like, grapefruits or like sour citrus, like a sour citrus tone. Lime, lemon, orange, grapefruit, stuff like the kumquat, stuff like that. But yeah, there's some cool stuff in the Martha's Orchard, the Orchard Lady, and but most of the PAM stuff, all first week, second week of October. That's when you're going to look at them.
So thank you very much for answering his question. So, femmes, any femmes? Will you ever do femmes? I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. I do it all, bro. I love femmes. That's like real world breeding stuff that I love. I love guy diving into that stuff and doing it, man. I can look at populations really cool that way. I've been making a lot of them. I just did my first release of those femmes, was that PAM heirloom SFV. I reversed that SFV, ancient cut, and pollinated a bunch of things. The first one to get released was the one that pollinated the PAM. those are friggin' fire. And if anybody got those, I brought those to Michigan. That's when I released those, was at that Michigan thing there. We got those to my buddy at there, had waiting for me in Michigan. But yeah, those were great. Those are cool. Right now I'm working on the Pure Kush, which it's Kevin. It's the Shug or the Suge Pure Kush cut, which is like that Bubba Pure Kush. Killer plant. Earth for days. True, like, indica type plant. Real nasty, real awesome. Love it. We just reversed that and pollinated a bunch of things with that to do some fem work with that. So we're gonna look at those. That'll be really cool. That hit the Royal Kush, Kev's Royal Kush. That hit some Pam. That hit some OG. That hit some ice cream cake. That hit some stuff, man. So that'll be cool. And right after that, I'm gonna finish up the dog walker fem stuff. So there's a lot of fem work coming out, pretty, over the next period of time. I got some dog walker stuff I got to grow. We got to see it. We got to look at it, and then we'll be able to send that out. But man, those Pam OGs, like I said, those are cool. You got some searing good stuff in there. So I was pleased with that one. A lot.
So I'm curious to know a person that has as much farm experience as you do, growing stuff, and a fruit tree grower as well. How do you take your clones? What is your cloning process?
Old school, man. I use a dome and cubes, not rock wool, but I use like either A. So I do two things. A, if I have a bag of like some root riot cubes on hand, I'll use those first because they're clean and easy, and they fit in my tray. So, some root riot cubes. Most of the time, say half the time, I'll use clone and gel. The other half of the time I won't. I try not to use it, or very little if I can get away with just not using anything. Just provide good environment for them, and man, they pop roots. And my Pam stuff will root with nothing like this. Like, I don't need to do nothing. I can break branches off of that and stick it in the ground next to the plant that I broke it off to. The thing will root, freaking flip flower just the same. It's friggin' amazing. So, I'll use cheap, rooting hormone. I'll use some Clonex if I got it. I'm a real farm guy, man. If I got it on hand, I'll use it. If I don't, I'm not going to run out and buy it. So if I don't have any Rockwell, or if I don't have any root riot cubes, then I'll just get some cups or some 4-inch pots, and I'll fill them with soil, and I'll put them right in soil, and then I'll put that in a dome, and I'll throw the dome on the racks. My trick, my clones are beautiful. I don't want to like sound crazy, but they're beautiful. And I think that once I figured out that they needed way less light than most of us give clones, I put them on a rack, and they're like underneath stuff, and there's even stuff like on top of the rack that like obscures the light, and they're barely just they're just enough to just stay alive and root, because you don't really want them to grow, because when they're sitting under lights and you cut clones and they're really healthy and you put them under perfect lights and everything's great, they want to grow a little bit, so they cannibalize themselves. They get really cannibalistic, and they start going wrong. And if you don't have roots within 12 days, and you have to push them to 14 days or 15 days, then your clones are looking a little crispy. You know what I mean? I don't care. I don't really care what you're, who you are, what you're doing. That's usually how it goes down. So when I lessened my light and the impact and really pushed them off to the side, or really just, kept the duration, the right amount, but just really lessened the intensity, man, they come out really beautiful. And usually they, 9 out of 10 times they're all going to throw some roots. You get one out of every group that might not throw a grip of roots, but it is what it is. So yeah, just old fashioned. I bounced back and forth with water cloners, and old fashioned rock wool was how I learned, was the rock wool. But I hate pH and stuff and soaking stuff and all the extra work that I have to do to do my rock wool, which I don't know. Some people might say it's not work or what, but I don't like it. but yeah, pull out those little cubes. Those things are quick and easy, and away they go. And if I don't have them, I don't use them, and I'll throw it together. But I'll use rooting powder, I'll use rooting gel, but I don't use anything funny like aloe or like any of those homeopathic recipes. Like every time that I used aloe and all those other different things, you know, throughout the batches and different things, there was just too much funkadelic stuff that would happen, you know, in some of those clones. So I just stay with the traditional fruit tree thing. You know, I usually have some rooting powder, some root tone, or some dip and grow, you know, or stuff like that you use for fruit trees, and I'll just and go that way. But yeah, I'm real lazy about it. As long as I got a clean dome, I just make sure it's really clean. You know, it's clean. I'm not using old dirty stuff, clean stuff, and then I'm good. You know, but always clean shears, bleach on the shears or the scissors, and each mother plant has its own pair of scissors, and the scissors are labeled. So like, you know, SFV, PAM 1, you know, etc. And that pair of scissors stays with that mother plant, so that there's no chance for me fucking up and giving any type of cross contamination. And then bleach, or a little bit of bleach and water, just straight bleach for a second. You know, I usually am lazy and I'll just dip my stuff in bleach for a second, and away you go. That's the only thing that'll really get the hoblating and who knows what else. Alcohol's cool, it does a lot, but it's not gonna be a foolproof method, you know. So I use a little bit of bleach and then let it sit and kind of dry it off a little bit. Sometimes I'll wash it off with a clean bit of water just to be sure it's not really bleachy. But yeah, man. And then making sure that each plant has its own scissor really keeps me, you know, keeps me sane, at least, to know that I'm trying to do my part.
Well, one of the reasons I asked, well, I wanted to know your method. Yeah. But, you know, we've got a lot of people that's come through this path of the show here. New growers, very skilled growers, large scale growers, you name it. And when I started doing this and everybody was taking notes, and I kind of suggested to the newer growers, not to necessarily fall into one boat necessarily, you know, don't subscribe to one YouTube channel and just try to mock one guy's moves or whatever. Watch all the shit you can. Not only shit that around here, but look in the other places. You know, growing's growing. Basically, it doesn't have to necessarily come from this. And one of the guys that was an early supporter ended up doing his time on the show. He was a new grower less than a year. He's going on probably a year and a half now. He's come a long way. When I asked him to come on the show, he was like, man, I got a couple of plants. I need nobody. I'm like, you love growing plant, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, good. Then come tell me your story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're part of the team. You know, you grow. Yeah. That's all you need. That's the minimum right there, man. Come on. And he's come a long way. And as he's like ventured through his cannabis learning education, he took a little bit of knowledge from your kind of your area there, and that's why I asked if you kind of used it or heard about it as well. But he actually took sand cloning from the fruit tree world. Yep. Basically, he's used it and having amazing results, almost like 100 for 100 in the sand tech, just cutting them and putting them in some clean sand.
Yep.
I was wondering if it was part of that's why you being a fruit tree guy, I was wondering if it was part of your
citrus.
Repertoire.
Yeah, we used to do citrus like that all the time, and figs. We do that all the time as figs. When we used to work at the nursery, I used to work in the nursery, dealt with all the fruit trees and all that stuff, and we do propagation on the figs and on different citrus stuff when we could. We can't do citrus anymore because of different pests and stuff. That's a whole nother story. But we did with different cane berries and fruit trees of all kinds. We would root those suckers right in sand, and sand was cheap and plentiful. We used to get the horticultural sand because it was nice and clean and washed and good quality. Some of that play sand stuff, just like regular old sand you get, can be pretty nasty and dirty and have some funky contaminants in there. But a good horticultural sand, man, that'll root all kinds of stuff. I love that. The only reason I don't use sand for cannabis is because I don't have it on hand, and I could go buy big bags of, sand that I really don't like. I wouldn't want it growing in that play sand or that arsenic sand or whatever. There's got all kinds of funky stuff in there. But there's this little bit better grain horticultural sand that a little bit costs a little bit more money that I used to use all the time for free at the nursery, and that kind of spoiled me into the sand game. And I've never looked back, and that's the first time I've heard somebody bring up the sand thing in the cannabis space, which is pretty cool, because we used to just set up beds of it, and I used to just cut fig after fig and just bloop, 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 right there, and sit them in the dip and grow for a second, and they'd all sit in this little cup of dip and grow, and then we would just stuff them in this little sand bed, and there were little heat mats underneath of that little bed, and anything we put in there rooted like an SOB, and we pot those things up and sell them for, top dollar, so that's how I learned how to make fruit trees, and like started doing my own business stuff, I'm like, holy shit, I could do this myself, in a whole different way. So that was a cool time that taught me a lot. But sand tech, bro, people should look into that. That's for sure.
That was Johnny Caneseed. I don't know if I threw his name out, but it was Johnny Caneseed who I was talking about there. Nice. And, that actually, just from this little thing here, some folks that were having problems with that area they're growing kind of took on to that as well. I've watched it, I've watched it firsthand, because he's on the show quite a bit. And when he first started doing it, we were getting like nightly updates, 7 days, nice thick roots in the sand.
Yeah.
It was pretty impressive. It was obviously noteworthy.
Totally. Yeah, that's like that's old school stuff. That's just fruit tree, using what you got, that's the perfect kind of medium for the air and stuff, and that's what you really kind of need, the more moisture and air balance, and that sand offers that perfect thing. You do the same thing with perlite, straight perlite, or a perlite vermiculite mixture, you know what I mean? If people have a hard time getting sand, or they want to kind of take that tech, you can do it just the same way with that. We used to do it the same way. So take that for what it's worth. And then if you do water cloners, I always tell people, if you're going to water clone, then you probably should look into like growing with some sort of an aqua, idea in mind, like, a DWC or whatever, or straight aquaponics, you know what I mean? Because you're growing water roots when you're making those clones, and you put those into soil, then they got that acclimation and change and stunt period of time where they're just kind of like, oh, okay, they got to get used to being in that soil from going in the water. But if you go from water to like, a hybrid soil water, or water to water, or water to rock wool or something like that, you got a lot less of that, kind of that change, which helps with that shock, but I like to clone and whatever I'm going to grow in later on. So use dirt or soil, if you're going to grow in soil, or use little plugs that are going to biodegrade into soil as much as you can, and that's the way wherever you're going to take them, that's where they should kind of start them. Sand is great because you can take them right to that.
Mr. Amadeus has another question for you. He's wanting to know, what are your best cultivars for indoor scrog, or SOG/scrog, and what are your favorite daytime, nighttime, social settings? Good questions. Thank you, by the way.
So like Pam is going to be your sativa type high, or your uplifting, your social, your non-couch lock type effect, your go-getter, kind of very positive time lock type weed, where you're just happy and up. So the majority of like the pure Pams, the F2s, the F3s, you've got back cross stuff. You've got anything that's got 2 parts or 3 parts Pam and other crosses. All those are going to be more on that sativa, upper echelon high type thing, like more of an upbeat daytime smoke or edible or whatnot. But they also scrog really well because they're lanky and really got long legs and put on killer little golf balls or little pine cones all over the place. I prefer plants that have like pine cones or golf ball stack formation on there or whatever, if you want to look at it, as opposed to big old, colas if I can avoid it. Some colas are nice as long as there's a little bit of separation in there, and I can get away with that. But I really would prefer plants that have that golf ball stack or that pine cone stack. I think it's easier to weave them in there and take advantage of stuff. You can kind of get more little funky little sites in there, and then you don't have any bud rot and stuff points where things can kind of have you in trouble. So a lot of those Pam things are just like that. So they're killer to just kind of bend and weave and train and do whatever you kind of need to do. Booty shorts, camel toes is a good one. There's any of the pure Pam stuff. Those are all going to grow that way. The OG stuff, anything like those new Fems, they're straight up looking, they're OG plants. They really have that OG kind of. Pam and the OG are really tall and funky and lanky anyway, so they both kind of took that. So that basically grows like an OG. You can scrog an OG very well. You can do a lot of different things with it, but those ones are more, I need some support. I need to be scrogged, and I would prefer some sort of a support as opposed to, most of those other ones, the Orchard Lady, the pure Pams, they stand on their own very well. The branches don't break under heavy loads. You don't have to scrog them or stake them nearly as much, or at all. In some cases, I don't even cage or stake most of these, and some get 9-10 feet. And they don't have a cage or nothing on there, and their branches hold. So those ones got tough branches, but all that OG stuff, the dog walker stuff, any of that dog walker side of things, any of the like the Pakistani or the landrace stuff, the Sheshamani stuff, all that stuff's going to be perfect for scrogging. Needs the support, lost the strength in the branches. But anything dog walker, the OG, the pandemic stuff, anything with the pandemic in there, all that stuff is heavy duty. It's good nighttime, rip and smoke. I think almost all the pandemic crosses have like pulled keepers out of there at some part of the globe. Everybody's like, oh my God, I got this pandemic cross with this. I'm keeping it. And they've kept it for several runs. There's some fire plants that'll just put you on your ass. But if you want uplifting smoke, look for a Pam dominance, something Pam dominant in the cross. And if you want the heavy duty stuff, look for that dog walker. Look for that OG stuff. Then you're gonna get more of the heavy duty stuff coming through. But yeah, scrog everything you want, because they're all scroggable. But if you don't want to scrog some of that Pam stuff or the booty shorts or something, you don't really have to. You prune them up properly, they'll stand on their own. They're tough.
I love some of the names. I love some of these names.
I got stuck. It's like, I'm not like a weird pervert or anything. I mean, we all like some tang, but like, because we named the Pam originally. My wife named Pam after Pam Anderson, by the way. I didn't even name her that originally. Like, my wife was like, she's beautiful, like one of the most beautiful things in the garden. And the seed stock came from like that late 90s period of time, early 2000s, when Pam was running on the beach in Baywatch and was the queen of the 90s, so she's like, we're calling her Pam Anderson. I'm like, hey, I'm down with that sounds great. So because she's named Pam, like, I try to keep that influence, like that like that sex appeal type influence in a lot of those crosses. So if it has the Pam in there, like you're gonna have things like booty shorts, and you're gonna have things like dog beach, because the beach for Baywatch, you got something tied back to the Pam and her relationship to what's going on to here. So all of those, all the sexy ones, it's all based on that line. And then I've been working on I have a space line where it's like different telescopes and space type features, Hubble and a bunch of other things that I like naming stuff after, and more thought-provoking things that I do. And then I've got, all the stuff that people might want to buy, you know what I mean? Like I always try to find that, the caramel apple super twist or whatever, you know what I mean? You want to find a couple of those too, so you have some of that in there. So, the people that are just name shopping, that's where they go, but it means a lot in a name. And you can have the most fire stuff in the world, but you name it the wrong thing, you name it camel toes or you name it booty shorts, and the world will never know its name. I mean, it just, you can't get on the stage and say, the winner of this competition is camel toes. It's hard on the ears. But if you actually know what you know what I mean? And you do, and you go through it, man, you'd be renaming that and going on the stage. I guarantee it. You know what I mean? Because it's worth its weight, but it's just fun. That's the fun stuff. So trying to have some fun stuff, some stuff for everybody. You know what I mean? But I'm a super nerd, so I want to like name it things that is just weird, that nobody really cares about, so I'm weird.
I gotta tell you, I would leave it as is. Seriously. I mean, if you're entering a competition, you want them to remember your damn name anyway. So you might as well drop it with some fucking booty shorts or some fucking camel toe, and like leave everybody going, huh? Yeah, that's right. That's right. Remember it and smoke it. You'll remember both the name and the can.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. Keep it going. I completely agree about the bud shape too. The golf ball and the pine cone and the pine trees there.
Yeah.
It's just easier to trim. It looks better in the end. Like you said, I've heard lots of guys like, oh, I grew this massive bud. I'm gonna just keep it like this. I'm gonna drive. Why? You're gonna be lucky if you get to smoke that thing in the end. And nobody, you know what I mean? If you're lucky, that thing gonna mold or whatever. You're good. And if you're gonna try to sell, pass that on to a patient, nobody's gonna want that lumber right through the middle of that thing, anywho. So you got to chop it down anyway. If you got any kind of decency, you chop it down, and then you got all those like misshapen kind of bud shapes because they've all tried to grow together. Yeah, why not have the the pretty golf balls?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Nugs will travel. Those nugs, those little golf balls too, man. You put those in a bag or in a jar, and they're tough, little durable little SOBs. You know what I mean? They'll last a little time on the shelf. They'll move around in a bag. They'll hang out. But yeah, nothing I hate more than hanging up a bunch of big buds and having just rot in the middle of like freaking cola. You know what I mean? During the stuff, that's just the worst thing. And then all the smashed buds because they grow all together, just like you're saying. Like you get all the smashed hairs and the smashed freaking bracts and all that crap that's just in there, just mashed together. It just looks horrible. It's like, yeah, I'd much rather have those golf balls, maybe, for sure.
So any tips too? You want to throw out any other general tips to anybody out there that's wanting to grow some of your strains? This is the golden age for cannabis. Like you mentioned earlier, those of us who started, 20 fucking years ago, there wasn't a lot. It was all trial and error, and you just felt your way along. You fast forward to, 10 years ago, you had the internet starting to come out, people starting to show their faces. A lot of us were still bandanas face.
Yeah.
A lot of my early pictures were fucking in the Jason mask, definitely
Yeah.
sunglasses, hat pulled down. This is a whole different age. We got people talking about it, spreading the knowledge. Some cool, around was right around that time when you could like really start purchasing seeds. And I'm still red flagged from buying seeds in that era right there, from ordering overseas. My mail still, anything that goes through the Chicago hub comes through with a red check to this day.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't forgot you. We haven't forgot you. We looked through.
Yeah.
But one
Yeah.
of the things about that period was and it's even better than today, was like he was up there showing his strains, kind of telling you how you could fucking grow that shit. I thought was real cool. But now we're in a day and age to where knowledge flows freely, have access to quality breeders like yourself. So, is there anything that you'd like to, throw out there, a little bit of advice for some folks that are growing your strains? How do you grow? You know what I mean? You want to throw some of that out there?
Yeah. No, I mean the two things I always tell people, if you're just growing my stuff from the start, what keeps me out of trouble is root space, making sure I got enough root space, and flipping with plenty of root space, because when a lot of my stuff goes into flower, they still throw some roots down, man. They will use up some of that area in that pot, and will damn well appreciate the space and the nutrition. So I always tell people, don't grow them in 1 gallon little pots if you can avoid it. And try not to flower anything in tiny stuff like that. If you can get away with it, your results are going to be greatly improved with a little bit of a bottom. More roots, more fruits. That's definitely true, especially with my stuff. So bigger is better with a pot size, and flipping them early with some room, like transplanting them into kind of their forever home, maybe giving them a day or two or three, and then in they go. You know what I mean? So those two things will keep you right out of trouble, and they will reward you substantially. But yeah, you try to grow them in little pots and stuff like that. They're just not going to do. They're not going to do what they like to do, and giving them a little bit of cold too. A lot of that PAM really, I mean, you get color always. Color is always there. Color is a part of it, but the actual, like the way that the nug forms up, the way that the resin kind of changes with a little bit of extra little cold, some cold nights, that really will take them to some killer smoke. So I try not to keep it, if I'm growing inside, I try not to keep it always the same temperature in the room in a perfect environment. I really would like to have some cooler nights, if possible. So yeah, a little cooler night, more room, and flip them earlier, and you're in good shape. You're in good shape. That keeps me out of trouble every time. So
Thank you for that. I know that colder aspect does have a definite key to quality. I know I'm not just speaking for myself here, but us Michigan growers love, 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 love the winter season. I would
yeah,
much rather try to heat than to try to cool. And it is, yeah, I definitely agree. Much, much better product during the winter months here.
yeah,
Probably for the reason you're stating. I never even thought about the colder nights, but I just know in general, my garden is always better.
yeah.
I guess with that saying, I should shut the fuck up about fucking these long winters up here, huh?
Totally. You pile out a couple months, Hell yeah, keep it coming. That's great. I love it. I love it. No, that's like up here too, like in NorCal, and right now, actually, like that first crop, the traditional full term crop, you know, the ones everybody's pulling down, and you know, first week of October, second week of October, or whatever. That's always a good crop. But if you did a succession planting, you know what I mean, and you got stuff coming into flower in the November period of time around here or up north and stuff like that, that's always my favorite smoke. That one is the one that, for whatever reason, those are my jars. You know what I mean? Like for those are those colder nights. They go through a little bit more of that, you know, in the outdoor spectrum. And for whatever reason, that second crop, that staggered crop is always, that's my jar crop, you know. I love that. I love that. They're completely different. You can look at the pan one way, you can look at it in that different, just that different time frame, that month difference. And I mean, it's crazy how different, you know, the formations are. It's really cool.
So, how do you dry? What's your necessarily method of harvesting there? You a little bit on the larger scales, it sounds like. So probably a cut and hang and trim dry.
Yeah, I pretty much stopped trimming. I you know, I usually I cut everything down to like equal size pieces so that they're easily kind of stacked and organized and hung properly. And I got a little hang shed that's it's a metal shed basically, so it gets really cold and it stays pretty cold in there. And where it is, it's just that the walls of it really do a good job. So I'm lucky in SoCal to where, you know, if I put something in the shade and it's got metal walls, I can pretty much keep that thing at, you know, 65 degrees all the time, no matter what, or colder if it goes. There are only a couple days out of the year where it might get really hot. Oh, I got to turn that back on. But yeah, I can get away with that. So I don't need to have a lot of the dehues or the ACs and stuff unless we're doing big rooms and stuff. And then you got to have AC. So, you know, once you have AC and you got dehumidifiers and stuff, you gotta, you know, you got a whole nother game, and you can just dial it in at 60 and 55 and 55, 60 and 60. You know, you can be cute and get, you know, 58s and get these cute numbers in there or whatever. But if you're doing it outside, old fashioned way, like in the shed, you got to keep, my shed is cool. I get those colder nights. It might warm up a teeny bit. Those light swings in temperature, I think, help with a little bit of a dry and a little bit of a, you know, a changing of the flower. And once they're hung in there, I try to hang them as long as possible until they're actually dry to where that stem is snapping and they're almost like too dry to where I'm like, oh, you know, they're to that point. And then once they're there, I'll trim them up. You should be able to finger. Let me turn this back on here so that we can get the live action rolling. But I try to where are we? There we are. Is that light? There we go. So I like to hang them until they're super, super dry. And then to the point where I can finger trim them. I can hold up a bud and I can rub my finger down the bud, and those leaves just flake off of there like candy. And then at that point, I'll take some time and I'll trim up the stuff that I'm going to keep and get it all rolling, make it all pretty and nice. As much effort as I want to spend trimming, because, you know, they get big plants. You can trim all night with no help. So I trim up as many things as I can get gone, and then you jar them up. And once they're hung properly to the dry level and I jar them up, I don't do any burping or any of the nonsense because they've been hung up long enough. I'm not putting wet weed at all in the jar. Like, there's not a lot of that going on. Like, the drying and the curing is the process. Like, when it's drying, it is curing. And that is the process. And then once it goes in the jar, you know, you leave it in a jar for a week or so if you want, or you can leave it in there for a month or two or whatever. But I don't ever go back and do a lot of re-burping or messing with it. And as soon as I started actually drying my weed to where it was dry, to that plethora, not like Colorado dry where it's going to shatter completely horribly in your hands and be nothing, but like that, there's that fine line to where it was really dry. When you think it was dry and you're like, yeah, should I trim it? Wait one more day. You know what I mean? And when I started doing that, man, the nose starts blowing the tops off of them. Like you get no more hay. The hay happens when you put moisture in there and you're burping it, you're changing it, you're constantly fiddling with it and stuff. You get hay, you get funny things like that. But when you do it like that, I've never had hay again. You know what I mean? I've never had that. It's always a top blower. It blows the freaking top. I'm like, holy shit, this is fire. You know what I mean? So yeah, I used to chop it too early, and I used to put it in jars, and I used to burp it, and I used to do that. And I won the grow off competition in SoCal with the dog walker that I dried and cured in a hotel room in my truck back and forth, because I had a disaster at my house, and we all had to evacuate the house and go live in a hotel room for a couple of weeks while they fixed the house, you know. And that was right at the time when I was supposed to do the harvest for the competition, and I had to cut the plant down and open it up in my truck when nobody was around, close it up when nobody was at the hotel room. I would open up the stuff and it would smell up the entire hotel room, and people would be looking out their doors and like trying to figure out what's going on. My mom would come. She's like, you got to close this up. The entire hotel room at the lobby stinks. I'm like, I got to dry it, you know? And I had way too much moisture in there when I entered it, you know, more than I would have liked. And I still got, you know, third place in terpenes and, you know, top 5 in the potency, and was, you know, got an award and kicked ass. But it was like, I did that in my truck in a hotel room, you know what I mean? And with no like control variables. So when you get it kind of, you know, it's kind of like an art thing, but if I can just hang it and leave it, that's that one day thing. Whenever I'm like, okay, I'm going to trim today, I always just wait one more day. And then that's been a big help for me, you know. And then I usually just bin it up in a big bin, and I stop trimming. And then whenever I need something, I'll trim it on site. Like I'm like, oh shit, I need it out, so I'm gonna take a handful of weed to my dad or whatever. I'll throw it in the trim bin. I'll just trim it up really quick and rough and make it, you know, perfect. But sitting in that bin with those extra leaves on there, untrimmed, protects those plants. You know, it protects those flowers a little bit and keeps them really sharp. So then when I finger trim, they're like beautiful nugs and they last a long time, a little preserve type factor, you know. But it's climate specific, you know. You can't do that everywhere, you know. So you get lucky, you know, certain places.
So I'm sure you probably make yourself a little bit of hash, no?
Yeah. Heck yeah. I'm
So
a flower and I'm a joint and a pipe smoker first. But yeah, we make hash. We make, you know, I make some dabs and, you know, rosin and dry sifts and, you know, bubble hash. If I can get it to press it all the way, if I can do all the steps, like, and not be lazy, like wash it, press it, and then like go there, like just those 2 big steps are hard enough for me. You know what I mean? I usually will wash it, and then it never gets any farther than that. And sometimes I'll press a little bit. I'll just use the hack.
It should. It should.
There you go.
It shouldn't make it past that. God damn it. It should make it to the pressing stage. Bubble is just fine by itself. Why
salute to you, dude.
Breaks my heart. Really.
Just the step, yeah. And then it's like I feel like I'm wasting so much more too. It's like, man, I already just took my harvest and fucking just cut its fucking nuts off, you know what I mean? And now I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna cut its nuts off, you know what I mean? It's like, nah, man, nah. Can't do it, you know. So, but I, you know, you do what you do.
So I ask this of all the breeders that I have on the show is do you notice, do you separate your like sensibility from your seeded bud? during, like, say, the extract phase? Because I've kind of wondered, I've kind of come up with this theory that seeded bud, even though it is seeded, kind of takes a different path, and it's stonier in a way. So do you think that your seeded uh, waste, if you will, uh, puts out a more stonier hash than, say, your Pam Sensimilia, than your Pam seeded? You know what I mean?
You know,
I
yeah,
think it's
yeah.
a little bit stronger.
You know, like with the seeded bud. So yes, I agree with you on the seeded bud thing. Like you have this different pathway. It took a different kind of these different principles to it, and it has these other hormones, or it creates these other types of terpenoids or whatever. It does something where it's got to finish its life cycle, so it has a little something to it. You know what I mean? I think that's definitely some truth to that for sure. But when I have seeded stuff, 99% of the time after the seeds are out of it, it's such dust that it just goes in the garden. It just goes in the compost pile, or it just gets thrown on the floor, the floor of the orchard. You know what I mean? Just to become a part of the orchard again, because cannabis is a bioaccumulator plant. So all of the stuff, all my stalks, all my leaves, all my shake, all my trim, all my moldy buds, all the stuff that came from the garden that pulled stuff out of my soil goes back to the garden. Either A, it'll go in the worm bin, B, it goes in the compost pile, or C, it just goes directly onto the ground as mulch. So most of the time, 99% of the time, it's mulch or worm food, no, hands down. And what I'm washing is after I've made my jars I've spent my time and my hands hurt and I'm tired of trimming. I'll be like, all right, that bin, your hash. And then that one gets washed. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter what it is. If it's seeded or shaky, or if it's got some couple seeds in it or whatever, I'll just treat it all the same. But most of my stuff that I do wash is going to be bud that doesn't have seed in it, just because after I get the seeds out, like I've destroyed it so much. It's so dry. And I know that Rasta Jeff's talked about that too. And other times where it's like when he's done with his seeded stuff, it's just like, it's just trash. There's nothing to it. And, I never heard anybody else other than me say that, because it's just, there's nothing I can do with it at that point. And I've mutilated it so much that most of the hash is on my hands or on the tool or on that other stuff that's turned black. And sometimes you can fiddle with that, but yeah, most of the seeded stuff goes back out to the orchard, and then whatever seeds slip by, those are volunteers, man, and they pop up all the time. And I'm like, you can stay, you can go, you can, it's like you constantly got like a local land race, population that's always showing up, so it's pretty funny.
You can look at that in two ways: either that you pulverize the bud and recognition,
Yeah.
or you could say it's a testament to your breeding skills and you had nothing but hustler. There's no savable bud.
Yeah. I like that. That's good. I like that. Yeah, your bud should be full. They should be full. I hate having a bud that you grew for the whole time trying to finish it off, and you open it up and there's 2 seeds in there and it's supposed to be full. And that happens with stems a lot of the time, where they just pollen just wasn't as good, or just didn't get enough of it, or something, you just didn't get as many seeds, for whatever reason. There's just less of it, and I hate that. It's so, yeah, that agitates me. They should be full, many seeds. Snatch that bud, just have them pour out of there, and that bud is just barely holding itself together. That's how it should be.
Seeds, I can't believe how many seeds you can produce out of one plant.
Yeah, some are insane. Some are just like, dude, I grew a bunch of like Khalid Taizane. It's a Reunion Island landrace, right? And I grew a bunch of stuff like that, and I did a bunch of crosses. No other plant have I ever grown has given me more seeds than that thing. you could barely touch it with pollen, and the seeds would be just exploding out of it. Before it was ripe, it would be spitting seeds out. You couldn't touch it without seeds jumping out of it all the time. I mean, it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. And in the end, you would have just thousands and thousands out of like out of a 2 foot, 3 foot plant, you know, that you just beat the shit out of and cut. And you would have thousands and thousands of these super tiny seeds, because they were super tiny too. That was another characteristic. They were like half the size of regular seeds, you know, and fully beautiful and tiger striped and perfect, you know, but they were just half the size. But you got 5 times as many. And anything that you bred with that plant, it increased the seeds. And I always told my buddy, I'm like, man, I should keep this thing around to breed it for seed production, because it has this extra thing where if you grew fields of this, like that's a yield of seed, like hemp seed, right? Like you got all these seeds you just never could do anything with out of this thing. They were easy to harvest and the whole deal, but I never enjoyed the smoke, so I never kept that plant. But yeah, I never seen a plant put on as many seeds as it could. But just a regular plant can put on a fuckload of seeds. But yeah, seeds are cool.
Myrtle,
Trying to
so you want to
seeds.
throw out some suggestions for some aspiring breeders or some people that just want to preserve some stuff for themselves, as far as like timing and length they should go? And I've heard you mention all these things in the beginning, and they're more important thing in seed storage, you know.
Yeah. So make sure that if you're making seeds, like if you're trying to do stuff, like what I also learned is try to use more than one male from a line if you can. Don't just go specific stud hunting and try to pick that one stud. I mean, you can. There's nothing wrong with it. It's got us to where we are today. You know what I mean? But if you're trying to like preserve a line or keep all the possibilities open and you know present to where we can dig those up later, it's best to have several males, as many as you can, and as many females as you can of those same things, to preserve the genetic diversity and integrity of that actual line. When you take just one plant and you breed them together, it's like the ultimate bottleneck. You know what I mean? You've got so little there in the end as you go down that it's cool. It works. And nothing wrong with it. Like I said, it's cool. I do that all the time. And I hunt for special males. But if you're trying to do it like as from like that kind of thought process, or if you're trying to preserve something for long term or some sort of a cool thing that you need, the more the better. You're definitely going to be better off. And then actually choosing elite stuff. Like that's the hardest thing for people to do is actually look at the seed. Look at a good amount of seeds. Like you can find cool stuff in a 10-pack. You should be able to find a winner for yourself in every 10-pack. You know, I believe you should be able to find something. You're like, hey, I'd smoke that again. You know, in most things you should. I would hope. But you know, when you're really breeding with stuff like that, one you think is good usually isn't as good as it could be. You know, so having more of that to look at. So if you only have a 10-pack of seeds, you buy your favorite pack of seeds from whoever you buy it from. You got 10 of them or 12 of them or whatever. Take that pack of seeds and breed them all together. Every plant that you get out of that pack of seeds, breed them all together. And then all of those seeds that you get will be the amount of stuff that you will last you a long, long, long time. And then you'll be able to pop, you know, 5 at a time, 6 at a time, you know, whatever your limit is or whatever you're allowed to grow, whatever your space does or your laws allow, you can pop 6 at a time. And, you know, you pull one out of that group. That one was really good. Maybe you clone that one and then you pop 5 more of those later on. You work through and then you collect as many of the best ones that you can out of that group and then breed those together. You know what I mean? You're taking all that stuff and that takes time and that takes effort and nobody really wants to do all that stuff. But if you really want to do it, that's what you do. You got to find the best stuff And if that one that you kept before isn't as good as the one you found today, then, unless you're trying to do a preservation and you're trying to bottleneck something down or lock something down, then you can go that way. You don't be afraid of fem seeds, because fem seeds are they're just another tool in the toolbox that needs to be deployed. And that's how real breeding and stuff for all of our vegetables and stuff, a lot of that stuff is done that way. And it's good ways to really make the plant that you want to make. If you have a clone only, the only way you're really going to be able to make that plant in seed form is to breed it with itself, because you breed it to anything else, you contaminate it. And now you have this whole nother set of genes that you can't weed out ever. It's now contaminated. So the only way to truly chase that thing down, you know what I mean, is to breed it to itself, and then breed it to itself, and then breed it to itself, and really make it itself, so that you only have that genetic profile to work with. So selfing is really important, but you got to, like, again, it goes with picking the right plants. You got to pick the right plants. You can't pick any plant. You got to make sure they don't have hermaphroditic tendencies and weird things, or do all kinds of strange stuff. You gotta pick the right plants, but don't be afraid of fems, and use more plants in pollinations, and it'll do better, I think, in a lot of ways.
Are people eliminating themselves by using fems for breeding projects? Would you like to see people start, if they're with a breeding project in mind, see them start from a rice seed, or do you think they're limiting themselves by right off the bat by starting with a fem?
Well, if you ever bred with a chem or an OG, you're breeding with a fem right off the bat, for the most part, because when they were hermaphroditic, or the sour, you breed with a sour, you breed with a chem, you breed with whatever. Something was a hermaphroditic tendency, had a rogue flower drop, a cookie. You breed with a cookie. Everything has cookies in it. So we're all breeding with fems. You know what I mean? In one way or another, because it was originally a fem, because a fem from a hermaphrodite flower is the same pollen that you get from the reverse flower. It's the same exact genetic profile. So all that's different is you're breeding that hermaphroditic trait with that fem seed, because it's prone to do that, you know what I mean? And you're taking that genetic profile with it, but if you've ever bred with a chem, you ever bred with a cookie, you ever bred with an OG, you ever bred with any of that stuff, it all started with a fem anyway. It was already a fem, and then somebody got it and they bred it with something else and whatnot. And you can start something off with a fem. And it's not bad, because, like I said before, if you breed to something else, you've now contaminated the profile. The genes are now two genes. You have foreign material entering the plant that you want, or the stuff that you want. Now you're trying to find a partner to breed it with, or cross it with, unless you're trying to do that, where you're trying to find the best features of this plant and this plant. But if you're trying to, preserve a plant, or hold on to a plant, or make an OG in a seed form, fems are cool. You can start there, and there's nothing wrong. It's just, when we started back in the day in closets with no help and no education, and just a bunch of stoners trying to figure it out and being pioneers of the game, couldn't really talk to anybody about any of it, so all we could do is just go from what we saw. And sometimes, when those things happen, we just assume that they're bad, but they're not bad when they're done, with the proper techniques, and actually to create something, it's almost even better to do it that way, with just fem stock, So it just depends on your project or what you're trying to do, and how you're going to go about doing it. And there's a different tool that you can deploy. And sometimes you need to deploy fem, stuff. Sometimes you got to do an open population. Sometimes you want to do a bottleneck breeding. Sometimes you want to go do back cross type stuff. Sometimes, you want to create something completely different new, or like with that chem and the Australian bastard cannabis, like the Australian bastard cannabis on it by itself sucks. Like, the cannabis sucks. It's not very good. It's not enjoyable to smoke. I don't like it at all. It's not good, but it has the most radical leaf shape ever. It's way cool and completely worth capturing. You know what I mean? So that is the instance where you need the foreign material, because breeding it with itself really is just going to give you more crap. You know what I mean? That does this thing, you know? So if you're trying to do it for that, you need the foreign material. So that's when your outcross comes into play, you know, and you need to get a donor, to do that. And then there's a million different ways you can do that. Like, is your donor a true F1 hybrid? Was it a worked line? You know, because the only way you're really going to get a true F1 is having two inbred lines come together to make a true F1. Otherwise, you're just throwing shit back and forth. So, you know, any aspiring breeders, like, don't be afraid to like spend a couple of years on something and then throw it in the trash, you know, or spend a few years on it and then be proud to release it, because it takes a lot of time just to kind of go through them all and like really look at it and be able to figure it out and navigate, you know. What's going to change the world? Like I said, you know, what's going to change it, you know?
So I can't help but wonder, as we're pushing, you know, legalization across the board, is Mr. Trees ready for like big time cannabis, or will you concentrate more on, you know, being that boutique fire guy? Because most of us, you know, that's what we're looking for. You know, I'm myself included. I don't give a shit what everybody's talking about. I want everybody, you know, I want to bring to the table what you'll be talking about after I leave, or fucking down the road sometime. And that's only going to come with the boutique shit. You know, the guys that are like throwing that shit about, yeah, everybody have it. I have 10 million seeds. Marlboro's growing it. Fuck, you know what I mean?
Damn,
like,
you got drones spraying pesticides and shit, you know?
You know, I get it. You know, but is it in the morals? Is it in the cards? Would you prefer to, you know, stick to the fire and, you know, keep to us smaller guys that are, you know, serious about it? Or I guess, you know, it's not a bad thing. Is scaling up necessarily that bad of a thing? Could it risk quality or all that down the road? Or is it just the fear of, I like the way Mean Gene kind of limits things a little bit. You know what I mean? And even though it's good, it keeps it in the want. You either got it, then when it's re-released, it still holds its value, I guess. So, I don't know. I'm talking too much. You tell me. What's the plan?
Man, we need all pieces to the puzzle. You know what I mean? We need that commercial stuff for the people who, you know, don't have a ton of money, who don't care. You know, the my dads of the world who just want to spend as cheap a dollar as he can and buy whatever that, you know, with the most he can get for that, you know. And then there's going to be like the real heads who like have the fire, and man, that's where it is. I don't care. And I help people with fruit trees, and I do, you know, help with fairly big stuff and all types of plant, you know, status. But yeah, once you start getting too big in numbers and you start hiring people that aren't your eyes or your, you know, your personal blood trained or whatever, you know what I mean? Like as soon as you get more eyes than you on there, and it gets so big to where you can't put your hands on each plant, then you are now you're going to lose something. You're going to lose the relationship with the plant. You're going to lose that thing that makes it the fire. You know what I mean? If you can grow the fire. But I think that we need it. We need the commercial stuff. We got to have it pumped out there. We need more people smoking, the better. I think the more access to it, the better it's all going to be worldwide, period. I don't really care. But I always do think the dudes with the fire are going to be able to freaking control any table that they want to and do whatever the hell they need to because they got the fire, you know, and they, you know, the Mean Genes of the world, that's where you want to be. You want to have people, like you said, man, you want to bring that jar to the table and have people talk about it long after you're gone, or that be the jar that empties first, you know, and that's the thing, you know, put them all out there. Which jar is empty? That's the one. That's the one you want, you know, right there. I don't care. Throw all that shit in the garbage, you know, I don't care how good it is. That's the one you want, you know, so yeah, we need it, but I'm always staying boutique. I want to help the little guy. And that's what I do with my fruit tree business. I go to people's houses, personable. We help with fruit trees and diagnoses and help them grow their own food and get healthier and use their land and teach them where the hell their food comes from and how to utilize that and take advantage of Southern California sun. And then, you know, being on that personal small level is like the greatest thing ever. You know, it's rewarding and it's nice. And that's the way cannabis is and needs to be, you know, that's what makes it real, you know, that's what connected people. That's what Bob Marley was talking about. And that's what, you know, all those fools, you know, have always preached, like you know, it doesn't see anything. It just sees people and it brings people together from all places, you know, and it's the greatest thing in the world, man. It's killer, but you lose that, you know, along those lines when you get too driven by charts and shit, you know? So I can't work with charts. That's not how I do it. I've always been a free bird, dude. I like charts, but I don't want to be told I got to do it certain ways all the time. I want to feel it out. I want to be able to be in tune. That's important.
Amen to that. God, couldn't be any better. You kind of touched on the base of seed size a minute ago. Should people necessarily use that as necessarily a sign of vigor or quality of the seed? Some strains, as you pointed out, man, just put out small beans, and some ones just put out coconuts. Should they be scared of when they get some and they're like, oh man, they're not coconuts? You know what I mean? Can you educate us a little bit on?
Yeah, no, seed size has a lot to do with, you know, a lot. It's I've grown certain plants inside and outside, under certain lights, under other lights, in different situations, and made seeds on all those different kind of aspects with the same plant. And the seeds always kind of turn out similar, but different based on how they were grown. You know what I mean? Where they grew up, what light they got, where they were, you know? So seed size is mostly genetic, you know, in a lot of cases, like if they're really, really small, like, and it's a definitive difference in seed size. It's a lot of that is genetics, you know, the size of the seed gets carried in like the genetics. Some are just coconuts, some are in between, some are small. But then you have things like pollination time. So when did that plant get pollinated and how much pollen actually hit that plant? Because if you pollinate that plant really, really late and there's a billion friggin' pistils on there shooting off all over the place, and you're pollinating later in flower, week 3, week 4, or somewhere along those lines, you know what I mean? Week 5, week 6, whatever. If you're pollinating late in flower, there's going to be more pistils and more seed sites available. So the seeds that are produced by that pollen that hits there, you're going to have more of them. They're going to be crammed together, and they're going to be smaller, and they're going to be more misshapen. They're not going to be as pretty and as beautiful and as big, and there's going to be more of them. So less energy is going to go to each one because the plant's only going to have so much uptake. So kind of like fruit trees too. Like fruit trees don't care about how big the fruit is. They just care about getting as many pieces of fruit out as they can because that's their seed, that's their offspring. So they don't care if it's good quality. They don't care if if it's gigantic or pretty or whatever. They just want to get as many little pieces of crap out there as possible. So the more pistils that get hit with seeds, the later in flower, the smaller your seeds are going to be anyway, because there's less space for them to develop. If you pollinate a little earlier, you'll get less seeds, but everything's spread out more substantially. So you've got less pistils sticking up. Pollen's going to hit these things, and you're going to have these seeds start forming early on in that flower's formation. And those seeds are going to be bigger and beefier and perfect and great shaped and strong. And they're going to harden up and be inside that flower, and they're going to ripen up really, really nicely. and do well. And then also like cooking your seeds long enough. Most people don't cook them long enough, which means not cook them in the oven, but like grow them long enough, flour them long enough. It takes at least 4 weeks from pollination to get seeds that'll start to really grow. You know what I mean? But really, you know, if you push into 6 weeks or 7 weeks or even farther in some cases, if your buds aren't rotten and stuff, if you can go as long as possible, the longer you go, the better your seeds are going to be, the darker they're going to be. That's what you always want to look for in all seed varieties, with the exception of Freak Show and a couple other ones that their shell kind of shucks off of there a little easier, you know, when they go. But most all, I'd say most all cannabis stuff has, the darker the seed, the more mature it got. And the darker brown, the better. Stripes aren't necessarily, you know, always there on certain ones. Some are no stripes, some are polka dots, some are dashed, some are full on. Really, that has genetic implications as well. But size is genetics, and then time of pollination has a lot to do with the size of the seed, and then the quality of the seed. Always, the longer the seed goes on the plant, the better they're going to be. No, hands down. You pull them early and you got some kind of whiteys, or they're just light brown, you know. I mean, yeah, some of those are going to grow and, you know, whatever, but they didn't mature. You know, they're not going to last nearly as long in storage. They're not going to be durable. They're not going to, you know, you're going to get a quick bang out of those, you know. You're going to have poor germination rates. And then like pulling your seeds out too early, making sure your plants are dry as fuck before you actually try to take the seeds out. You start taking your seeds out of wet buds, you've now contaminated them with different types of bacteria in the air and other things. You've now stripped off a lot of the coating that's trying to harden on the outside shell. So that's how come you'll see some seeds that look like they've been peeled a little bit, like part of the coating has been peeled off, you know, because either the weed is that like supremely dank and super sticky to where it's like you can't get those seeds out of there without some of it peeling off, which is great. And that happens. But a lot of the time it's people that are pulling them out when the weed is still too dry or too wet and the seeds haven't hardened over enough. So letting them be really dry and making sure that, you know, you can shake them out of there pretty good. They're falling out of there. When you touch them, it turns to dust and it just seeds are dumped out of there and they're all dark brown and beautiful. You know what I mean? If half of your seeds are white, you know, then, you know, your pollination times were messed up. You didn't cook them long enough, whatever, you know, you got all kinds of stuff. And but most of them should be nice and brown. You cook them long enough, they should be hard. And the colder you cook them, or not cook them, but the colder the temps when they're growing, and if you malnourish them, you don't give them enough calcium and food, and they're pregnant ladies. So you want to treat them like something that's produced in a life form in their belly. You want her to eat healthier, right? So you want to feed them well when you're making seeds so that they have all the nutrients necessary. But you want to make sure that when she's cooking, that like you're not pollinating her over and over again as they're developing. Like you get a certain window, a week period of time where you can throw pollen on this thing. But if you're throwing pollen every couple of weeks, then your seeds are never going to ripen up. You're always going to have seeds at different stages and different places. So getting in and getting out with your pollen is good. Nourishing them. And where I was going with that is if you malnourish your seeds, then your shells get really hard and they have a hard time cracking. You get really hard shells and they're too thick, and that little embryo has a hard time cracking through there. So proper nutrition with your seeds and good temperatures and stuff helps them not have too thick of a shell so that they, do what they do. But there's a million things, man. There's like all kinds of things that you screw up or, Oh, big one. Don't get your seeds out of your plant. Don't shuck them all out of your plant and have them, don't take them from your plant and then put them in a sealed container. Like never do that. No matter how dry it is. Like I would just let them sit out for at least 5 days or a week or something like that before you you bagged them up or jarred them up or did any stuff like that. So you give them a little dry time, a little one-on-one dry time once they're out of the plant. If you pack them up too early, sometimes you'll open that seed, you put those in the dark. And if you don't put them under cold right away, or you just put them in room temperature in your little seed spot, or you store them someplace, you'll open that thing up and they'll be all fuzzy and moldy and messed up because you packed them away too soon. So keep them out, let them dry out a little bit. That'll save a batch.
Another thing I guess I want to ask about that is necessarily proper storage after that point. As far as making sure after you've got them off the bud like that, is making sure there's no husks in there as well that might suck up some moisture, hold it when you do cap them seeds off, cause a little bit of problem later. Is that something like that?
Yeah, so like I find that if you're putting them in the cold, under cold storage, in the fridge or whatever, you don't want any of the husks or anything. You want them pretty clean, because those things they'll collect moisture and they'll mess you up a little bit. Have the potential to anyway. So I always make sure they're really clean if they're going to go into cold storage. But if they're just going to go into room temp storage, what I do for lots of them is I have like a beer cooler, just a regular old cooler. Throw a bunch of beer in or food in. You go camping, whatever. Those coolers are killer, and you just get a couple of those coolers or a cooler. Most people just need a cooler, but I got a couple coolers of them. But you get a cooler and you stack it in the coldest part of your house, in a closet someplace in the dark or down in the basement or wherever, your cold room, your garage, wherever it's cool, doesn't get hot. And those coolers keep it killer. I mean, you can keep seeds in there for 10 years and have them pop, do their thing, as long as you have them dry and store them clean and good in there. I like that because you can get out, you can open it up, you can go through your seed collection, you can look at them, you can pull out stuff for people to give them away or whatever, and you're not constantly opening up your fridge, taking out your fridge, messing with condensation and fiddling around with stuff like that. So I prefer to keep most things in my coolers so that they're ready to go, and that keeps them cool. You put a cooler and how cool it stays. It keeps things cold as it is. You know what I mean? You just put it in a cold area of the house. Inside that cooler, it's dark, it's dry, and it's cold. It's designed to stay cold. You know what I mean? So that's what I've been doing, for years, and that's one of my favorite things. But some of the special things, like some Pam, some of my special lines that I have, really proud of. I'll always take a little portion of those seeds and I'll vacuum seal them in like a food saver bag or whatever, you know what I mean? With a little desiccant pack, either in there with it or at least in the, I'll food saver it and then put that inside of a jar or inside of another bag and then inside of a jar with some desiccant, and then that'll go into a fridge. And that stays in the fridge for, longer. And I don't have to really worry about that as much, every, 10 years or 5 years, I could kind of pull them out if I wanted to, but really every few years I pull out the stuff in my cooler anyway, and I'll recycle a bunch of it and I'll remake it, or I'll go through the seed stock and make sure it pops and I can grow some of it out, remake some of it or whatever, just to kind of keep it fresh. But the coolers, man, is easy. And mess them up real quick. It's the best way in the world. You can throw them in a regular old Ziploc baggie. You know what I mean? And instead of writing on the baggie, pro tip right here, dude, if you're doing baggies, right? Key tip, just take a piece of paper and write your information on the piece of paper and put it inside the baggie. Don't write on the plastic baggie, because you put that plastic baggie in there, all that writing wipes off eventually. You always lose parts of it. I have bags of seeds that I have no idea what they are. I have no idea. You know what I mean? Because of that shit. So take a piece of paper and rip something off your mail and fucking write the name of whatever it is and whatever info you want to keep and put it inside the fucking bag with your seeds, or inside the jar with your seeds. So don't write on the jar. You can too, but have a backup plan, man. You forget what you do.
so true. And that is such a good pro tip. It is a pro tip right there. For me, man, it's never been that like a huge scale, like seed hunt type thing. But for me, it like I've got dude tubes full of seeds that I did that on. I'd like, oh, this is da, 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 da. And now it's like, what in the hell is that?
No.
Oh man.
You'll never grow them because you don't know what they are, you know? It just, you know, it sucks. It sucks. Yeah. Too many times, man, has that bitten me, man. So, yeah. Little tips like that, I swear to God, it's like out of anything, it's like the stupidest little things. I'm like, oh my God, I should do that, you know? It's like, it makes so much sense, you know? Somebody doesn't do that and they're forgetting that's going to change somebody's world, you know? So it's silly, but it just saves so much time.
So what are you besides cannabis? What are your second and third? What it be, you know, things you like to do?
You know, fruit trees is what I do, you know, when I don't do anything. I've always been Mr. Trees, even, you know, forever. It's not for cannabis. It's because I am the tree man, you know, so trees is always cool. So plants, I get texts every day from people. What is this plant? What is this? Do you know what this is? You know, all that stuff. So I like, I'm the plant man all the way around when it comes to that, and fruit and production and culture. But aside from plants and shit like that, man, I like, you know, I like collecting coins, weird nerd shit. I'm super deep into like space and like astrophysics stuff. I like stock market stuff. I'm into cryptocurrencies and funny things like that. I'm hip to all those funny little things lately. I'm trying to learn more and not be old and really, you know, take advantage of some stuff. I do, you know, I play music. My dad's a music teacher, so I always played music, man. I play anything with strings. You know, guitar is my thing, but I play anything with strings. You know, I can play all that shit. I'm not great at anything, but I can play. I've been in lots of bands. I've done some touring. We've, you know, I write lots of songs and funny things, stupid stuff like that. Or, you know, that's what I did a lot of my youth, you know, smoking weed in weed houses, writing songs and, you know, practicing, we spend a lot of time doing shit like that, you know, but man, I spend just a lot of time learning. I mean, if it's not like, I drive a lot because I travel all over looking at different orchard plots and different people. And I travel all around. I spend 200 miles a day, easy, just driving around, going to different places, doing fruit trees and helping people with cannabis and random shit like that. So along the way, while I'm driving, I do lots of like audio books and YouTube. I'll put YouTube on and I'll put like soil science on, or I'll put astrophysics on something on, or I'll put the stock market thing charts on. And I spend time learning like how to make, like, you know, how to do things, you know, how to do certain things that are going to help in the long term, you know, so I like to learn, I guess, is like the overall answer, man. I spend a lot of time learning about shit, you know, and trying to figure out, you know, how much stuff I can cram in here that ain't completely useless, that, you know, will maybe help somebody or help me, you know, send my kids to a better place, you know, and make sure that they can be smarter than I was, you know what I mean? Because I didn't take advantage of nearly enough stuff, and I didn't start learning until I was friggin' in my 30s, like mid 30s. I was like, man, I'm dumb as shit. I didn't do any of the things that I should have done. I just know about these fruit trees because that's all I've ever done. So now I got to learn about all kinds. I had to start helping with homework. I didn't know any of that stuff, you know, certain things. I was like, man, I got to learn about everything. So I just got this crazy learning bug, and I just dive through it, and I just learned, man. I learned about everything. I try to learn and do, you know what I mean? So that's it.
That's pretty
I'm doing
awesome,
it good,
brother. Man.
Yeah.
Don't ever grow out of being a nerd, man. Don't ever grow out of being a nerd. Seriously, man. Yeah. I'm a big Audible fan now too. And what is it? You know, as I sit here and listen to it, because I wondered too, and I think a lot of other people do, as they sit home, watch the fucking History Channel and other shit. Why wasn't I interested in this back in school? This is cool shit. I honestly think it's, you know, they were forcing It's a
Yeah,
itinerary. You
that's
know,
it.
I think the kids nowadays, the homeschoolers have more of a better chance because, they're learning more geared toward what they like, what they want to be. Even if they fail, this is the way I see about it. Even if they fail, at a younger age, nobody's going to know what they want to do growing up.
Nope.
But if they
Nope.
say, "Hey, I want to be an astronaut, and I'm going to learn everything it takes to be an astronaut," it's if they 18 and they're not going to be an astronaut, is that a fail? Hell no, they've learned a ton of shit along the way passionately. That's the difference too. They passionately learned it. You know what I'm saying? And I think
Yeah.
that's what's happened to us. We were force fed what they thought we should know. And then when we get to be our age, we go, well, this is what I want to know. And we dive in fucking both feet in the shit.
Totally, dude. It's, like, I can't believe it. Like, so much useful shit that they should have been teaching us. You know what I mean? That, like, I talk about with people with fruit trees, and like practical things that we should just know as like human beings. You know what I mean? It's like it was the forced, like, you must know this. Like, still to this fucking day, I've never used algebra or anything like it. I've never written down an equation or anything like that and tried to do it in that aspect. And I know there are reasons for it, but like, there was so much effort and emphasis placed on certain things like that. We're just like, we could have been learning something else that really would have been more practical, or for the majority. And then, it's just so silly, man. It just, learning is the wrong way in school. I was never good at it, but I'm a great learner. It's so weird. You know what I mean? Like, I would have been a great student had options instead of like, you have to do this. Cause I ask questions, and people don't like people who ask questions, so I want to know why about shit. They just want you to do it, and like, it just is, I don't like that answer for anything. I don't like that at all. I want to know why about stuff, so I had a hard time.
I hate the phrase "I can't" as well. By the way,
Yeah.
it gets right under my skin. There's no such thing. If you want to take the time to learn, you can do anything. You can if you don't want.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you
So
don't have, yeah. Go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I said
No,
I
you're
didn't
good.
beginning. You're the guest. All right. I was gonna ask you because I'm a bit of a nerd too. I absolutely love Audible. That's why a lot of times you might not catch me in a lot of show chats or whatever. I feel like a lot of times I've kind of learned that lesson. I want to move on to the brighter past. So it's fun to hang out and chat, but a lot of times if I'm in a show chat, it's because I just want to be sociable. That's it's you know what I'm saying? Unless the subject matter is, why I'm there, basically. But I was listening to a book, The Botany of Desire, and because you're a fruit tree guy, I want to ask you about the beginning. They talk about apples. The first plant they talk about is an apple tree. Uh, so is it true? But it's got to be true what they say. But in there they talk about if Johnny wouldn't have stepped in, basically, uh, nature would have us. We wouldn't even have one different apple. You know what I mean? We had to step in to stabilize because the possibilities of just letting them go, each apple would be different. We'd never notice the same trees. Is that true?
Yeah, man. Most things, there's like a genetic term. I forget. It's a funny word, but like, true to seed is not always common with fruit trees. There's not, it's something that some things are, and most things aren't true to seed. And apple's one of those things. It's not true to seed. You can't plant an apple and get the same apple that it came from. It's like the roll of the genetic dice, kind of like an avocado. You plant an avocado, it's a roll of the genetic dice. So basically, whatever pollinated that flower before it became an avocado, were other avocados around, it pollinated itself. That's an aspect. Then when it's out of the seed and you plant it, what's the soil composition? What's the water like? What's the environment like? What the temperature's like? That turns on certain things in that seed. which are favorable for survival in a lot of cases, and then bang, you get a tree that grows out of that roll of the genetic dice. And sometimes it's a magic tree that's delicious, and a lot of times it's not. Nature chooses strength and health and vigor and survivability over flavor, right? A lot of the time, it's not going to pick the biggest, beautiful, like I was saying before. The trees only care about producing as many pieces of fruit as it can. They don't care about making them big and juicy and beautiful. Man has to step in and make that happen, But Johnny Appleseed, he traveled around, and on his travels, he'd eat apples or whatever, and he would plant seeds. And everywhere he went had different situation, a different, climate, a different soil composition, a different place, a different thing. And out of those rolls of the dice came all these trees. And, I think what he was planting them for people behind him for years so they could have cider and food and all kinds of stuff, whoever's coming from behind or whatever the legend goes. I don't know. But so out of those groups, certain genes turned on, and some of them were really shitty and crab apple-ish and no good. Some of them turned out to be pretty tasty. And the ones that turned out to be pretty tasty, those were the ones that we took pieces of and we made clones of and we started grafting with. And that's how we got the Haas avocado. I think it was a mailman. His name was Haas or something like that. And he planted a seed out of an avocado that he ate, that he brought from wherever. And out came this tree that produced fruit and held the next year's fruit on the tree, which was like double productive, which at the time, the king of the avocado world was Fuerte. And Fuerte has like a main season from from January to like March. You can eat Fuertes. And Haas, you can eat from March to like July, and sometimes into August. It has like almost double the season because of the length of time that it sets. So that immediately replaced the Fuerte trees, and all the avocado groves that were growing all around here and during the avocado belts were replaced with Haas's because it was more productive. They could make more money, and it all came from that dude mailman seed that they took a piece of because it was a productive, badass plant that had a feature that was beneficial to us. And that's basically how the apples came. And they can breed them. You can start rubbing pollen and get technical with it and start selecting for things. And like Dave Wilson Nursery, that's a cool thing, cool website to look at. They do a lot of I think it's the Zager family or Zyger or something like that. And they do all the breeding for the Apriums and the Pluots and the Pluaries and all the crosses, the Nectoplums, all those cool things. They're killer plants. The Pluots you see in the stores these days, but those are all pollen breeding crosses. They're taking pollen and pollinating and growing the seed. And out of those seeds, 10 years later, some of them turn out to be tasty. Some of them are crap. Most of them are crap. The ones that are tasty move on to production. You know what I mean? And that's just how you go about it. But nature will always select for, survivability. And usually that doesn't come with high quality. You know what I mean? It's possible, but that's not likely in a lot of cases.
Almost back to the selecting for mutants thing, huh?
Yeah. That's what really is. That'll teach you something cool about breeding too. If you get some bastard cannabis, some pure bastard cannabis, and you can get some from CSI. I think he still has some out there, or Hybrid Tech, or one of those guys have been working with it for a long time. But yeah, you get something pure like that, and then you cross it to your favorite thing, and then you got to go through that population. You got to breed it. You got to go through that breeding process. So it makes you be a breeder, makes you do an open pollination, so where you're capturing the genetic pool, because you don't want some of those plants that you have there might not have that trait prominent, as easily accessed. You got to do them all. So you grow them, and then you got to do selection on all those mutants. And that teaches you a lot. Just like looking for the mutant leaves when they sprout, you're like, oh, cool. And you can kill all the rest of them. And then you only got mutants left. Then you can work. But it teaches you a lot really quick to be able to see it, just blindly crossing this plant and this plant. They look the same. They're already polyhybrids. it's just a swirling of the friggin' wine glass. You know what I mean? You're not going to see a lot, you know, it's hard to see it a lot that way. You know, you got to do the work.
Just kind of checking in here, pushing what, 3 hours?
What time is it? I got, I'll smoke this last bowl. And if there are any other questions or anything out there, I'll answer a couple more. But yeah, I'm out of weed, so we're gonna have to. I've got to go get some more weed. I'm gonna have to go get some more weed. Or...
So yeah, I've had fun tonight, man. I definitely have enjoyed this. I don't do this with my questions. I come to the table just as raw as this can possibly be. Seriously.
That's good, man. No, that's the only way to be, bro. You got to shoot from the hip, dude. That's the only way to be. You know.
That's right.
Got to. That's real.
So, what necessarily is something that you're hunting for, Kurt? What is there something out there that
the thing I'm most excited for?
You mentioned like the dead body kind of thing, but what else is that?
Yeah. No, that's what I'm most excited about, is that it's P1 stock, man, straight from friggin' Afghanistan, like straight off the friggin', the real deal fucking stuff, you know what I mean? Like straight from the source, so, and it has the exact like terp profile. It's got morphological characteristics, and that particular batch of seeds went through like one of the worst cold snaps of like the history of that area, right? And it still was strong, so it has this durability factor built into the genes too. But those acrid, like I said, that concert weed where every motherfucker in that 100,000 stadium knows that you're here when you showed up, because your bag opened up, you know what I mean? That is what I'm looking for. And I believe that came from there originally before we killed it all off, so it was something like that from something, someplace like, probably Afghanistan that just carried that through. And God, I hope that, and in smelling these in veg, right? Like, it's like, damn, it gets me excited. Like if they were just regular or they didn't have any started descent, I'd be excited. I would be, but it was that extra, like little hop, skip in my step. You know what I mean? When I can actually like smell it, and I'm like, oh yeah. And they all smell like that, and you're like, okay, this is the real deal, because they're already foul and they're just kids. You know what I mean? So, I can only imagine kind of what's going on there. And that's what I like to smoke. I like that nasty. I mean, I don't want it to be nasty. I mean, I don't want to taste dumpster, but it's that raw fuel, chem, earth, armpit, like heavy duty stuff that like you take it in and it's fucking powerful, and then when you blow it out, you're like, God damn, and it just leaves that lingering dankness on your breath, you know what I mean, that you just can't get enough of. I can't, it's hard to describe that taste, man, but that fuel, that real skunky fuel, Bull Rider P91-esque type tones coming through there, like it's gets me excited, bro. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited that I'm going to use the males all in there too, and I'm going to use that to pollinate a bunch of my stuff, the stable. So that dead body goes to Pam, dead body goes to the Royal, it goes to the OGs, it goes to the cool stuff. So it's going to have, we'll have some ice cream cake that it goes to, so you get the some dead body cake or something. It'll be really, really nice, like stock to use, to play with, and to open up, to have, and then to work the line, because I want to work that line in pure. I want to make sure that it stays pure. and then I want to work it to where it becomes my area, my terroir, my strain, my worked line here in SoCal in this little zone. My pure line. So whatever happens over there in Afghanistan, God help the people or whatever, what's happening. If some of that stuff gets killed off or taken out, at least we got pieces of it that'll just continue on, you know what I mean, on the farm somewhere, So I'm gonna keep that stuff, and I'm gonna work it pure, but I'm also gonna send it out into some stuff for some fun, So that's what I'm excited about. I'm really stoked on that.
So I can't help but wonder, do you already have some fun names dealt out? There's a lot of places you can go with like a dead body skunk. Or do you like wait until it's harvested and you're smoking it, and you know what I mean? And
no, I wait. I usually
This is booty
totally.
Right here.
Yeah, that's it. No, like booty shorts. I named booty shorts when I was harvesting it, and I cut off all the fan leaves on booty shorts, and all the pine cone buds that were on the ones that I was keeping had like this really sweet looking little uptick like thing with the sugar leaves, the way that it was just sitting, and it looked like just a fine little rear end, that was just perked up by these little short things. I'm like, oh man, look at those booty shorts on that legs, because she's got long legs, that really long legs, and it has all these little things, and just like this little, it was perfect name, but most of the time I wait for somebody to tell me what it reminds them of, or I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, oh shit, that's nasty, like that's a good one. Bacon dog's one of my favorite ones, that's just too easy and it just does it good, and I like that. But there's a couple of them that they got to come to you when you're smoking them or playing with them. I don't try to think about it beforehand, because there's so many projects that I've done that I'll never release some of them. They just, you lose traction, or you didn't like what happened, or whatever. So when they come out good, then I start looking for names for them.
Right on. Big Son in chat has, Mr. Big Son, please go back and watch the earlier half of the show. He's kind of already answered the first part of the question, which was mothering, pretty much out for using it for mother fem seeds, which is he's kind of pretty much hit that one a little bit. But he does bring up another good question. He's asking, what do you think about seeds grown with produced with synthetics versus like seeds produced with in an organic environment, soil versus like cocoa produced seeds?
I don't really. I've never seen a definitive difference between the two. I think the sun makes the most difference out of anything, like were they made under the sun or were they made under lights? You know what I mean? I think that has a lot to do with it. And if the plant was well fed, I don't think that the synthetics and the organics is gonna like affect the overall extreme quality of the seed, in the end. Now I would prefer, out of like pure gut and like mantra and feeling and just who I am in general, I believe that a organically derived, seed with healthy, good ingredients, you know what I mean? The wholesome ingredients, just like I said before with the pregnant lady, you want her to eat nice, healthy, good, wholesome ingredients and fruits and vegetables that are really good for her. You don't want her eating a bunch of chemical garbage and stuff like that. I'd rather it that way for the production of the seed or the baby. So I believe that the relationships that the fungi and the bacteria and all the soil food web has to offer, when you don't disable them with the synthetic stuff, or stunt them or whatever, I think that having that has an effect. I think that the source of the ingredients has an overall wholesome effect and makes me feel better about it. But as a scientific standpoint, if you were really scientific about it and were a pro and wanted to grow with science, 100% technology, the way that it goes, like a lettuce or whatever, and you're gonna test sap, and you're gonna take those necessary soil samples and do those things so that you can really dial in a nutrition level to peak performance, then I would say, hell, that's fine. You're not going to see any difference there, because we are smart, and there is some shit we can do with synthetics, and it's not bad. But just as like a wholesome, better energy idea of, I think that eating a piece of fruit for us as we eat the piece of fruit, our body recognizes that piece of fruit better than it would recognize a multivitamin or something like that was pressed and made in a laboratory. I think that we might lose parts of that, in a certain case. So I don't know if that breeds true, but I would rather it always be organic. I buy organic vegetables if I ever buy them. I grow organic foods and stuff if I would ever choose to. So naturally, I'm going to always do my seeds that way too. But, science is a beautiful thing. And if I was laying on a table and I was going to die, and they're like, we got to shoot you up with this crazy stuff, or you're out of here, I'd be like, shoot me up with any crazy shit you got, dude, because I want to use it, man. So the tool is there. I'm good with it, So yeah, I don't see a difference, but I think it's better the other way around.
So from a guy that has a strain, few fun strains, one of them being the booty shorts there, which I fucking love. Yeah, I get to ask this question for Iceni, and they want to know, does Pam prefer to be bred with just large males?
I love it, dude. That's the greatest question I've ever gotten, dude. That's awesome. That's fantastic. That's great. I don't know. When I select males, if I'm gonna pick one male over all the other males, I always pick the daintiest one of them all, though. So I don't think if she wants large males, she usually don't get the large males. You know what I mean? I usually pick the dainty feminine ones. So yeah. But yeah, maybe I'll make a dip. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll find her a hog, dude. We'll see what's going on. That's great.
You gotta love Chad, man. It's great people.
Hell yeah. I love it, man. It's the best thing in the world. I'm stoked that people are out, they're listening, they're having fun, dude. It's good. Life is good, man.
They're still we're perching 2:40 in the morning here, 2:36 Michigan time. There's 90 people still hanging out.
Hell yeah.
Watching us.
It's
been a great episode, man. I'm definitely glad I've got to spend this time getting to know you for sure.
No, I'm glad. Sure. I'm stoked I'm stoked you had me come, man. That's the shit, bro. So it means a lot. So hopefully I didn't ruin it.
After wearing this shirt on the EO show, fuck, how was I not gonna ask? How was I not gonna ask, man? I'm telling you, I watched, fucking hung out. That was one of them nights where I watched. I didn't even say nothing. I was just kind of sitting there cheesing in fucking back here, just fucking grinning that you wore this shit. God, that was such a good night.
That's awesome.
Man. I love it. Thank you for that. Thank you again for that, by the way.
No. Yeah, man. It'll happen again, bro. I like the shirt. So I'm down with that. We got to get you some stuff. So, I'm going to get you some seeds and some stuff the next time I see you, man. We need to get that. We're going to get together for sure.
Hopefully. That'd be cool as hell. I'd love to support you in any way I can, for sure. I have no problems in supporting the people I like. That's for sure. Them are the people I prefer to support. I'd rather prefer to support somebody that I know than somebody I don't know any day. So,
oh yeah.
With that being said, I know I don't know if you get to smoke your other bowl or not, but there's a few minutes of goofing around here before I let you go anyway, so I might as well get started with that, I guess. So
yeah, hell yeah.
I don't know how much of the show you've gotten to watch, but there's a few aspects of what goes on the channel here. Okay. There's of course the spotlight that we're doing right now. Fucking talking shit with me, and that's the main gig. But then there's also what is now it's taken a few journeys as long as I have through the show. It started out with the rabbit hole, and it's just like buying a new car. It kind of seemed to pop up everywhere and got a little confusing. So and then it kind of took a natural turn, to be honest with you, because it was the rabbit hole and it was getting like a phrase you seem to count everywhere. But I was dipping my feet into organics, and organics started really becoming more part of the show. And one night we were in the rabbit hole and we got a really cool wormhole story from the UK. uh, it was pretty cool. It's a good story too. And from that night forth, we kind of changed it from the rabbit hole to the wormhole. But then things kind of changed. We moved forward, and last year on Sub's birthday, I tried to. Sub was a good friend of mine. Sub Cool. I'm sure you know who he
Oh,
is.
right on.
And I try to keep his legacy alive somewhat because, man, basically what we're doing right now is something that he really started a while ago, hanging out, going live, hanging out in his chats, allowing the community a place to fucking chat. You know what I mean? Live time. And I greatly appreciated that. And as well as last year, he did the seed thing too, and he gave me that power, Mr. Trees. So I know the power of giving the seed. What kind of smile and I know all goes on with that. And I try to
Oh
carry
yeah.
seeds with me because I want people growing. I know how self-sustaining it can be. It can be very empowering. You know what I mean? It kind of drives. There's so many pluses to grow, and he gave me that. Once I was a weed nerd, but then I was lucky enough. So I was always a tester for it, but I was a weed nerd. Then I got the chance to become one of his reps. Once I came on to the rep, I had access to seeds. And that's where I began my flinging seeds journey. And I seen the impact of it. So on his birthday last year was the first year since he had passed. So last year I took Jelly Bean, Agent Orange, and Sangria, and I sent them bitches around the world for a grow along that kicked off on his birthday. So we had, a grow along, so everybody, no
Oh
matter
yeah.
what, could check back and whatever. This year things were a little kind of hectic for me, and again, I ain't missing my brother's fucking birthday, so I wanted to do something for him. So I got a hold of all the original weed nerds, Miss Jill, Mendo Doe, all of us that use the term with heart,
Yeah.
and thought, hey man, what do you guys think about me changing the show over to, or this portion of the show, to Weed Nerd World? And they were like, I love it. And we kind of even emphasize, if you look in the title where it says Weed Nerd World, it's WE capital, breaking it down because it's we
Yeah.
are weed nerds.
Yeah.
It isn't just the weed nerd, it's we nerds. So
Hell yeah.
since you've done, that's part two of what happens on the show here, or the channel. And of course, the organic takeover with Smiley's another aspect. Hopefully, we can come back and talk a little smack with Smiley on the
Heck yeah.
takeover as well. But so you've done the first portion of the show, and that opens you up to Weed Nerd World. In that how Weed Nerd World works is Monday nights is a guaranteed Weed Nerd World night. I don't schedule any guests for Monday night, so anytime you feel like jumping in on a Monday night, you have the key.
Oh,
No invitation needed. It's a strictly I want to basis. It's only open to past guests. You have to do this portion of it to be welcomed into Weed Nerd World. So it's the same Zoom link. Any other times, like say if we shut down, usually the time slot, when I told you it's kind of endless. I usually go if I've got a guest, if I'm lucky enough to have a guest. Sometimes it don't always work out like that. Last night, blank. Uh, uh, hopefully I got a guest to kick off the night, and I start off at 11:30. and then I take it as far as the guest wants to go, but it is open till 4:20. So if we close things down fairly soon, I'll probably kick it back open till 4:20 and let the past guests jump in and finish out the night. So anytime that you see Weed Nerd World in the title, if you're subscribing, you see it pop up. Grab your phone, you feel like hanging out, talking cannabis. Sometimes there's a lot of cannabis that this does get discussed there, but 360 days a year, 365 days a year. Oh, try not to take any off. It's hard to keep it cannabis. So it goes cannabis, sometimes conspiracy theory. It goes up and down. It is whatever you want it to be. So if you happen to tune in and it's something you want to partake in, come on. You don't need the invitation. You strictly want to. So I want to throw that out there, and hopefully you jump on.
I'll definitely do it. I'm up late doing stuff, man. So, and you're ahead of me anyway. So you're right in the prime time. So you'll see me, man. I'll pop in for sure. That's cool. Good people, man.
Even if you're just taking 5 in the garden or whatever, and just want to smoke one and say hello to everybody.
Hell yeah. Appreciate it, man. That's
I guess. Well, hell, it's my pleasure, man. It's worth it, man. You've been a hell of a guest. You're obviously a great guy. So why not? Why not ask you to hang out a little bit more, man? You know what I'm saying? And that's what it takes sometimes. Enriches everybody's life. Is as much goodness as you could possibly surround yourself.
Good, man.
One other thing that before I let you go that I'd like to get from you is I do this crazy thing called the sound bite. Basically, I don't use them right away. I kind of wait for let the things die down a little bit, and I use them for a reminder. But basically, it will be a commercial for this episode. So this is a corny thing I call the sound bite. It's just like all the old school radio identifications. Hey, this is Paratera, and I'm on Z-Rock. This is no different, except in my version, it's, hey, I'm Eagle, and I'm on fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 520. You put whatever you want before or after, as long as it's kind of got that in your sound bite. I would greatly appreciate it. I will start recording right now for your sound bite.
All right. I'm Mr. Trees, and this has been Talking Shit with Eagle. Hold on, let me do this one more time. I'm Mr. Trees, and this is fucking Talking Shit with Eagle. This is episode 520. Enjoy it. Have a good night.
They will enjoy it too, because this was a really good episode. Tons of thank yous all night long. And this has been, like I said, man, it's going on 3:00 in the morning, still 90 fucking people watching. They definitely have enjoyed this episode. So I thank you very much for your time. Again, I think the first chance to get to meet you, that photo op, I very much thank you for the t-shirt incident. That made a couple of days for me. And thank you for coming on and donating some of your time to the channel, to the show, to the community. It's the most precious thing we have, and I can only try to pay you back with good-heartedness.
Well, good, man. Have me back, man. We'll hang out more. Anybody needs me, you hit me up. You got questions with your trees, you need help, man, just let me know. Check out my YouTube channel, man, Mr. Trees. If you do, anybody hasn't done that,
the link.
Check it out. That way, it helps me out. I'm trying to build that up too. And if you're into growing stuff, that's a fun place, man. So, but I'll come back. You're good people, Eagle. Much love, man.
Thank you, brother. Weed is 207 and the mods around here have been dropping your links all through the show. So hopefully they've been impressed and hit those links and subscribe to the Instagram and YouTube. So thank you, brother. And thank you for putting, all you do in the community, dropping that knowledge, spreading the fire genetics. That's the important part, man. If it weren't people like you, we wouldn't have shit to grow. or even worse, we'd all be growing the same shit.
That's right, man. It's crazy, you know. But no, there's support each other, man. Everybody support each other, love each other. You know, it's all good.
Well, that does wrap up this episode. Episode 520. I can't believe it. It's already stacking up to that kind of number. But thank you guys for tuning in. If you're not going to transfer and hang out in Weed Nerd World, then thank you for your time. If so, then take that break, fill your tray, use the restroom. I will see you in a few minutes. For the rest of you, you guys know the deal. Random acts of kindness do save lives. Please try to take the time to do something nice for somebody. Again, thank you, Mr.